Guys, and welcome to the close. 2 more hours to go on the trading day, the very, very first trading day of December. I hope yours is very profitable. We have so much to discuss. This latest headline just coming across as Trader Pratt and Ms. V were discussing there. The first case of Omicron in the U.S. in California was a traveler that came from South Africa. I mean, I don't think this should be any surprise to anyone. It was going to happen. It was a matter of when. So the market's selling off pretty heavily on that news. Also, coming off of the press conference and more Q&A from both Janet Yellen and Fed Chair Powell on both inflation and the state of the overall economy. Here's a look at how we stand right now. We are still positive, but look at that. The Dow 0.02, just hanging on ever so briefly there into positive territory. 0.64 for the S&P, the NASDAQ 0.4, here in Toronto 0.7. I mean, these were all 1+% at one point today, so we've come off quite significantly on this news. 0.73 there for crude oil, back to the downside as well. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum holding on to slight gains. Here we go, all the to be expected names, I guess, in the red. We'll start front and center here. AAL, Dow, UAL, all down sharply now as a result. Remember, these were leading in the pre-market higher, so a big reversal for some of the airlines to the downside. And interesting to see Expedia still hanging on to a 3% gain on the day. Everything else in pretty good shape. A little bit of weakness back into some of the retailers. We saw that coming in earlier this morning as well. NCLH, there's Carnival, RCL, and Penn. The cruise lines, some of the gambling sites as well. To the downside, there's CRM. We mentioned it if you joined us this morning. 9% for Salesforce to the downside today, coming off of earnings. There is some strength, though, from semiconductors. AMAT, Micron, LRCX, MHCP among the leaders. AMD, not so much today, 3.5% to the downside. Want to point out Facebook over here real quick. 2.6%, I should say, for Facebook. Justin, the marketing guy from Day Trade the World, going to come through and talk about a Senate subcommittee hearing on social media platforms coming up. We'll talk a little bit about Facebook in depth. We'll talk about Twitter, because Twitter making moves already under their brand new CEO that is raising some question marks. So Justin coming up closer to 3 o'clock this afternoon. As we do every day about this time, we'll kick things off with a little bit of a review, touch on some of the opportunities that presented themselves. If you joined us in the pre-market this morning at 8:30 when we came on, what was available for us at 9:30 when the market opened, including one trade that Neil is going to go over for you right now.
Absolutely. Going to talk a little bit of CRM. It was the big red on the board today. Down 9% is the last we had looked at it. And I still see it about 9.3%, as you can see behind me. Now, not every trade is going to be a bit of a winner. It was a mixed report. Now, everyone's going to be focused on the guidance, and rightfully should be, because the guidance was a disappointment. They did beat on EPS, although if you adjusted, wasn't quite as big of a bid. But the key thing for me here today, and show you why I like the dip buy, or at least the long opportunity, trying to find a bottom when it was down this far, is you already had a significant pullback from this 300 highs. You were right down into this like 260, 265 area overnight. If you look at the post-market action, and we're right to this 266 previous support level. So I had that sort of pegged off, and then of course yesterday you did have that 64 bottom in the aftermarket. So those are the two levels that I was looking at for the dip buy. Came in the pre-market, and immediately we're sort of bouncing off of both of these, and we're already heading towards the open, so I had to be a little bit patient. And this is one of those situations where a lot of times you've already made the move off of a level, so maybe I shouldn't have chased back into it. That's something I got to consider next time. But what happened at the open, you tested higher, and then we start dipping in, and I'll get back to that test higher and dip down in just a little bit. First part of the trade, no problems. That 266 level, I allow it to bounce off that support. Once it does, I take it the third time through, technically, off that level, and then just look to play it inside of the range. At that point, we get a couple dollars worth of a scalp trade, and I'm just looking to hold for the retest of the top at about 275. So at that point, things looked pretty good. However, we took a turn for the worse through the bottom. Now, in this case, we do not stop ourselves out saying, okay, now we already got some profits. Let's hold the rest down towards that 264 level where we can re-up. These are two separate levels for two separate trades, right? So what should have probably happened here is just get it out when it breaks this level and then re-engage down in front of 264. And if that breaks, fine. Bob's your uncle, you walk away from it. That's one mistake. The second mistake that got made here was, well, look what happens after it makes that wipeout bottom. It reestablishes the 264 level, essentially for that scalp trade. So when things settle down, it did give a re-entry opportunity. And the whole point of buying the dip, when you think something is oversold, especially after earnings, is to allow it to settle down. So that's a couple of things I did wrong. Almost the bigger issue, I think, for myself, because I like a specific short setup, and it is that failed breakout at the open and then rejection. That's exactly what happened here at 275. And when that move happens, a lot of times I'm thinking the stock becomes a short. And if I'm thinking that, then maybe I should temper my expectations for a dip buy on the long. So a lot of things I could have looked at there. If something shows up as a sort of like an A+, like a technical setup for you to the short side, maybe you don't like the long as much. That's one thing I could have certainly done better here. The only good thing was I did limit the losses in taking out that bottom stop, but should have looked to get back into it. Now, obviously, you're having the market make another push to the downside late here, so I'm not sure there's going to be another trade in CRM, but got to go over the winners and the losers when we talk about how we can get better as a trader, and that's why I wanted to review CRM today.
It was quite the opportunity, a little bit surprising in the sense of where it ended up holding and then working its way back to the upside there for Salesforce coming off of earnings. Just watching some comments coming through right now from Dr. Fauci making some comments about this discovery in California. That is the watch list, guys, if you're wondering why that's on the screen. Absolutely free. Every single morning, Miss V will help you out if you need that link in the chat. Grab the watch list. We'll, as we mentioned, go over some of the opportunities that we talked about in the morning. But here we go. Here are a whole bunch of kind of one-liners, I guess, coming out of Fauci right now about this discovery again in California, the first case of Omicron in the U.S. The latest here, the person did not have a booster shot. I mean, can we just take a second and understand exactly, the market's still positive overall on the day. So I'm not entirely sure if this is as big a deal as people are trying to make of it. But to be expected here, I don't know why I have PayPal up on a chart there. To be expected here, I would think, guys, for this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I came live on the Memes and Movers show and was like, that was a pretty easy sell, right? But unfortunately, it bounced back up, and it just looks a little bit messy. But we are short right now. You can see, no, why can't you see my, because we don't show Amex positions.
We don't show Amex.
Oh man, that's rough. I am short right now, the SPY. I don't know why we don't, but we don't show. Maybe
I didn't know that.
Can that be refreshed at all, or that's just accurate? That's just what it is. Okay, it's working fine, so that's fine. So I'll just keep updating you guys. I am right now, guys, short this name. So we are right here. We are short spiders, and again, that's the market. So it's the S&P 500. So I took this short. We went short instantly, and we got out pretty good. Then we averaged in, and then we got out on a break back through 459. Then that didn't work, so we went short again there through 458. So right now we're short the market, like Brendan mentioned there. We're short this whole market on the spiders. I'll give you the exact price here, 458.77. So look, honestly, I don't trust anything Fauci says or Gottlieb says or the WHO says or CDC says. I mean, they basically sent us down a crazy path the first time. So I don't see why, we're going to sit here and listen to what they're saying again the second time. And I'm not against anything or any of their opinions. It's just, let's just wait for more facts to come out. Like, I'm reading the news here. Fauci says this. Well, that's nice. Thanks, Fauci, for coming out and everything. That's great. But honestly, let's just let science continue to win. Was the dude or female or was the person vaccinated or not? What is happening in South Africa and some of those South African countries what is, I said this yesterday, man, we're looking for three things: the efficacy, how does the current vaccine work? How severe is the new variant? So, that's two things. I can't remember what the third one was. But that's what we're looking for. Oh, transmissibility. So, how severe is it against, the human body, obviously? And then how transmissible is it? I'm not sure we know that, because I was reading things that, hey, man, the guy was walking past somebody and caught it. Okay, well, all right. Is that true? If so, maybe we're in more trouble than we think. Does the current And Brendan mentioned there, he had, I keep saying he, I don't know if it's male or female, but this person had the vaccine, but no booster. Like, is that confirmed? Like, so again, like, I don't know. It's just, I kind of want to just continue to be short. I said this in the morning that there's going to be a few more days of negative, reactions to this, and that the first day, now we're $1 in the money right now on the spiders trade. So, and it was like, is this expected? Yes, it is. So I believe it's a little bit of an overreaction. I'm going to be sitting in there probably buying near the end of the day, but let's let this settle down and see where we go from here. I believe this is definitely an overreaction to this. NASDAQ still positive, S&P still positive, but we're mighty short and liking life right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, you're gonna have to wait for a lot of things. There is preliminary, like preliminary data which is coming out that does sort of suggest that while there's certainly a chance it's more transmissible and cases are rising fast, that it's definitely not this may not be as bad, because hospitalizations, especially in some of the countries earlier on, aren't running at the same period. But like even this early in the game, that can mean a lot of things. It could mean there's more young people that are getting it for like all kinds of reasons. So you just got to wait it out for the data. I tend to think there's going to be some buying opportunities, and we'll get into some of that when we talk about this a little in depth. I do want to go over a couple of things. So I tried twice to catch 200 period moving average bounce on AMC. That's technical. It broke both times. CNTX. I just got out of this one. I think this could be a good trade. I think there could be a couple of good trades on this in the afternoon, in the last couple of hours here. This put in a great bottom just at the open. Look, it made a huge move at 850. It made a bounce up into like 950, 850, 950. It made a bounce from like $8 to 950, then came right back, tested 750, then put in a higher low right here at 780. It then had a halt up, which was a great shorting opportunity at 10 twice. Talked about that on memes and movers both times here. I just got out at $8, so that was a great trade off of 10. But I think this 780 is still pretty much holding, and if the volume can pick up, this could have one of those late afternoon bounce type plays in it. And I'll shout out to Trader Prad because maybe it was somebody in the community that said it, that DD was holding up really well. And I'm like, DD's up 8%?
Yeah, we're like, no, it's not.
I'm like, no, it's not. And then I pulled it up, and DD was up 8%, right? So DD was essentially it was just barcoding off of this resistance level from last week while the whole market was crapping. So I'm like, it's like 10 cents away from the high of the day. Well, 7 cents away from the high of the day. So I just shorted it off of this level, got some out in front of VWAP. Now I'm just holding on to it. So that's more a situation where a stock that I didn't even understand why it was going to be up and then found a resistance level. That was more of a technical setup than anything else. But I did try twice on AMC down here just because I saw that 200 period moving average that I liked. And there was no getting in front of it. Like now, technical levels, when you have a news event like this, I mean, you don't want to get married to them. You want to make sure you just stop it out and then don't hang on and don't average down, which thankfully we did, because it looks like the market wants to panic a little bit here. So you got to ride out the wave.
I was trying to find the exact quote, but when this all kind of came out, as we came on there this afternoon, there was an actual quote in that press conference that said the person actually had very mild symptoms. So, I mean, no one's talking about that. No one's talking about the fact that, it doesn't seem like people are getting too sick from this, but let's focus on the fact that it's there anyways. Let's talk how we can maybe trade around this. Some of the airlines, as we saw on that board when we came on at 2 o'clock there, under pressure once again. If anything, obviously travel could be restricted here as they kind of understand this a little bit further and contain it or attempt to contain it. So we had this headline this morning just talking about how they're going to prepare for this. So, I mean, we can't not understand, guys, that airlines are going to be under pressure.
No.
Don't catch that sword.
I think, like I said, I think everything needs to be bought at some point. I mean, it's only going to go down for so long. But, it's a scary time that we're obviously living in right now. And I don't really know what to expect moving forward here. So what I do is, right now I'm short. I'm $1.20 or so in the money on the SPY. And it looks like it might be bouncing right now. So 457 looks like it might have been a bottom. I had a 20 period up here. Was just thinking that yesterday. So basically, I wasn't here on Friday when we opened opened back up and had that crazy down day. But you can see here some of these bottoms. 457 was already there. Yesterday we touched a little bit lower, so I think I might have made a mistake there. Let's try to get out of this one at 457. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm not buying anything. And I talked about UAL was a name that I liked, and I was just waiting for it to get back up. If you look at a daily chart on this thing, when and if it wants to load, there was this 40. What was it? 40 or was it 44? Yeah, it was right in here. 43, 44. Looks like a decent level right there. And then you can see what's happening today, cracking back down. Look, this is going to be a bad situation here as the virus continues to grow and mutate. I believe there's probably more mutations on the way, and I hate to say that, but I mean that just seems to be the way it is. We're no medical advisors / doctors and or even a nurse, anything like that. So please just take our opinion with a grain of salt. But I just think as an investor, there's probably more downside, and I think it's here right now.
Let's get into a little discussion here, guys, on how this is going to affect the overall market. And I'm speaking of Omicron, the new variant of COVID. I don't know why I'm so excited about this. COVID-19. Obviously, there's a discussion to be had on how we should approach the market and some preparation to be done. Lots of articles to discuss when it comes to people actually talking about this already. And I mean, I'll show you one here from the New York Times. It has arrived. Today's, we're sitting here on Wednesday, obviously. Today's the first day in the U.S. How do we prepare ourselves? You know, we can talk long-term, we can talk intraday, but how do we prepare ourselves overall for trading specifically around this news headline?
You go back to history, right? That's the first thing I want to say, because like I read some articles too, and CNBC had a couple out saying this would be a buying opportunity, and I think a lot of that has to do with, and I'm going to use AAL as an example because I want to do some of the individual travel stocks I think people are going to be interested in. If you go back, there's 2 dates for the Delta variant. It was late December when it was discovered. So if you go to a daily chart, you can kind of look at what happened with the Delta variant in late December. We essentially got sold off, and something like an AAL pulled back about, it was roughly 20% or so, and then you can see what happened. It went 15 all the way up to make this double top. Now, the interesting thing about that double top, by the way, is when the Delta variant got named, that was the top. So when it went from the status of actually getting the name, it was actually pretty, it's been pretty negative to the downside. But I think it's the discovery of it and then that little panic sell, which by the way, it lasted, the greater part of the month before you even made a bottom there in the early January. So it's not as if it was like 1 or 2 days and we're going to catch a bit of a bid. And I think this is where what we're talking about, where you might have some pain for a little while before you make a bottom. And I just want to look at that sort of history and say, hey, it took a while before that got digested, and then you got a bit of a bounce. And I think that's the only thing that we can look at in terms of relating it to one of the other big variants. There's lots of things that you want to consider, of course, by getting data with how transmissible this ends up being, and then understanding how fast that spread is. Hospitalizations, of course, going to be a big factor because you want to see how effective the vaccines are at preventing serious disease. So there's lots to look at. But it's worth keeping in mind that when looking for those buying opportunities, because AAL, that $15 range from Delta low, that looks pretty good. Let's allow it to settle down before you necessarily jump in and buy right in front of that level, which is pretty close to, less than 10% away.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think we've been talking about it for a while, and I think patience is going to win the day here. And you just have to say, do you believe in science? And if you do, then I think that we could have basically a recovery that we've already had here. We're in the early days of this thing. So I'm going to look over at Zoom again and basically just look at it and say, this is March of 2020 right here, where people are starting to talk about Zoom, right? And starting to talk about, them possibly being involved in everyone's day-to-day life. And now Zoom is like almost like to Google something right now. So Zoom used to mean, go fast, Zoom, cars. Now we know all about the product. And now Zoom has come right back in here to, May, June of 2020 levels. So again, that's kind of right when this kind of started getting ramped up here. And I think you got to look back to some of the old names that have worked in this environment. And I like Zoom here. There's a few other names. Peloton's been beat down as well. Maybe that gets some life as we get going. But I think the same thing can be said for many of these symbols. Even if you go over there to the spiders, which is the S&P 500, right? And we can call up a daily chart and see what's happening happening right now. These are the last couple days. All we're doing is touching back to the 50-period moving average. So I do not think it's time right now to ring the sirens or anything like that. You have some pullbacks that are definitely possible. The 200 period is a little ways away. And even if you get to that 200 period, we're just going back to October levels. So, I mean, it's 2 months going to be erased if we drop all the way back in here. We were not expecting another variant, but the market got it. And, we can always look at Moderna, Pfizer, all those kind of plays. But I really just think, you know what, just nibble in here. I mean, if you believe in science, it should eventually bounce back up. And we'll wait to see where we go from here. But this is just another story to go along with the COVID train that's brought the market to where it is. And we're at all-time highs right now. So a little bit of a pullback, I think, is healthy. I'd rather it be market related rather than what we're talking about right now. But it is what it is, and let's just deal with it.
Patience is key. I think that's a great point to leave this off on and understand that we've been here before. We've been through this before a couple of times now. So there is more information available as a whole as to the way the market will react going forward. I read a great article 2 nights ago on this very topic that summed it up brilliantly, I thought. It essentially said, we now live in a world that includes COVID-19.
Right.
Get used to it. It's not going anywhere. There we go, guys. Let's jump into a little bit more of what we were talking about in the pre-market this morning and opportunities surrounding some of those names. And I want to jump into some EV stocks here because we got the monthly delivery numbers for Chinese-specific EV makers, NIO, XPeng, Li Auto, All Out, all very, very positive numbers, guys. But the trade was a little bit more difficult than that.
Well, I was trying to queue it up. I'll use this one because I'm on this page. That was me today. I was looking for the puke one, but I couldn't really find. I know it's on my board somewhere. I could have done this one. I could have done like the old school, like basketball rejected. That's me. You found your puke one?
I found the puke
That's
one.
fine.
I don't know. I can't find yours.
No, if you want to see a rejection,
these are just both like.
Yeah, you want to see a rejection, just watch
like that. Like, what is that? A pipeline?
No, but sometimes you got that stream that comes out, like in like The Exorcist, right? Like
okay, I feel that.
That's a good movie. Luke, by the way, I mean, now I'm thinking Exorcist. Lucas has a kick-ass shirt on, by the way. At some point, we got to show it. It's The Shining. Yes. And it's my top 5. He's got this sweater. Though? It's like a Shining sweater. And of course, the market's going to have this reversal day. So thank you for ruining today with the scariest sweater of all time. Anyways, The Shining. That's what it felt like today trading XPeng, because I'll tell you right now, the last few times they've had positive numbers, and we talked about liking XPeng over NEO in particular, and how strong the stock has been. And the last time they've had these numbers, as you can see it breaking out on the daily, it's been a great dip buy opportunity, right? Like it gave you this move here from 50 all the way back into 47, like an over 5% dip. And then monster rally, and then it did this a couple of times. It had a nice move dip by the day after, right off that same 50 level support. So basically it just would go back to previous support. Now in this particular case, that was a couple of levels here, right? So I kind of go back to this cluster at like 53.5, 54, and then this one at 55. And the same mistake on CRM. I could use this or CRM to go over the trade. But I wanted CRM because I think it technically was a little bit easier to demonstrate. But the same thing sort of applies. Like the first dip level gets violated, and I probably should have found my way out of it with a tighter stop on the initial. And then it's fine coming back in off that secondary level and then eventually getting out. It's just more about understanding that first leg, you got to have a tighter stop on it, right? Like if it's going to be 2 different entry points, that doesn't necessarily always mean it has to be averaged into. Thankfully, I didn't sit there fighting the stock for the rest of the day. Otherwise, it would have been abject failures. It's still heading to the downside. I mean, it's still trending towards the bottom, 5% down on the session and not really showing too many signs of recovering. But it's worth keeping in mind where they've come from. So that's great. They had good delivery numbers, fair enough, but it was pressing into the 60 level, which is resistance. It didn't get there. It got 57.5 or so. I suppose that's close enough that it might have just been due for a bit of a pullback. And in the grand scheme of things, if you look at where this double bottom was at 33, breaking out here when we essentially broke the 250 period at essentially the same time and then through 40. And you're even still from all these levels deep in the money if you got that 40 break or if you bought this dip at 43, 44. Like it's in the grand scheme of things, it's not a monster pullback. It just feels worse because usually it's a great dip buy on the day trade. Today that didn't happen, but it's really just a blip for XPeng right now.
Yeah, I traded it, and it's going to be negative on the day, but I was able to get some wins here early, including this one, boom. Then we averaged in and got out. Then we took another bid at 53.50. Still like it, but obviously it wasn't a winner. As we got some out here, as I was approaching VWAP, we thought it was going to break. Like, we were actually doing quite well on XPeng, and then it broke this level again, and then that was basically the flat, and then this is where I'm negative for the day on it, because we tested again 53 off this bottom, and then once 53 broke, we got it out at 52.70 on a 52.75. So it's like 25 cents or so trouble there, which for us isn't going to be the end of the world. So we did take a hit there on XPEV today, but it was very, very small one. Generally, this is a great name. I mean, I'm surprised I was able to get out of the way, but like Neil mentioned, it just bounced off 52, and it looks like it's going to follow the market almost to a T here. The NASDAQ's starting to bounce, and so is XPeng. So it's actually following the market pretty good as I overlay these things. Here's the top, here's the top. Here's it starting to fade down, bounce back, bounce back. But anyways, just not a successful trade for us today. A lot of hype around this as there was deliveries, but you just got to watch out for this market. And I just don't have too much faith in some of these Chinese names. That doesn't mean they're a bad day trade. They've actually been a fantastic day trade. And we're not going to be scared away. We're going to head right back to this name tomorrow or today or whenever we see a good opportunity. I like XPEV, I like Li Auto, and I like NIO. Those of you on the show know how much we appreciate the Chinese names for a day trade. Okay,
Vader.
Thanks. Yeah, Vader. What's up, Vader? I'll put you on the show right now and just show you up here. Thanks to Brendan. So thanks for the $20. It's a shout out to Brendan and the team, of course. So thank you to Rob and Lucas and Valeria for mentioning AMBA earlier. Patience definitely pays off. So we can look at AMBA here quickly and just have a look for it. AMBA. I didn't trade it. I don't think. Did you, Neil?
No, I didn't trade it. Great run off the open, though.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Ambarella, yeah.
Ambarella. Yeah. This was brought up. This was one of the very, very first stories that Brendan had. So I don't know what you did there, if you took a break of 200, 210, something like that, but a nice 225 and now all the way back down. Or maybe you're short off some of these tops. So thank you very much, Vader. Let us know where you are on all of this. But good trade there. And thanks for the super chat and congratulations.
Love hearing that. Congrats. That is why we are here, why we do this. SPPI, another one just popping up, guys, at day highs. I keep seeing this on a volume scanner, so I finally had to bring it up. Not a huge stock, 175, but getting back into some levels here around 175 for SPPI, another pharmaceutical name. Speaking of, Moderna was on everyone's mind, obviously, with this Omicron and what was said yesterday and the day before from the CEO saying that, yeah, efficacy most likely won't be where we've seen it in the past when it comes to their vaccine. Moderna, I can actually flip over here and show you. Back to the downside, guys, but we're getting into support once again for mRNA.
So look, I could have picked 3 clunkers this morning and reviewed any of them for the segment that we had done, and Moderna certainly could have been one of them. Because if you watch the morning show, you might have heard me say a few times that I like Moderna for a short and sort of outline several scenarios of which I wanted to get the way that I wanted to take the short trade. I didn't get any of them, obviously, as you can see here on the executions of my chart, and then even went so far as to look at this wipeout bottom and the successive higher lows and this night's consolidation to then work into a long position, which didn't take me very long to get out of. That's probably the only good thing about that trade that I can say, but I never went back to the original short thesis. And one thing I talked about with like false breakouts, if you like a level for resistance, where I talked about that 335, and when it broke and then put in a false break, a lot of times you just say to yourself, okay, well, once you determine and you believe it's a false break, it's almost like pretend this didn't happen and then look at the chart again and don't get skewed by that little false break, and then ask yourself, what would you be doing in that consolidation if you liked the short before, which is short that consolidation. Anyways, Moderna made a bottom, came right back up to these same levels in the afternoon. Not close. I mean, if it went to 333, 334, I probably would have put this trade onto the short side, but it was only like to 31 and a half, 32. So probably missed out on this by $1. I can live with that. But Moderna was a big miss for me because I came in thinking it was going to be a short. I do want to come to DD just to go over this. There was a 200,000 share offer at $8, which had me thinking this was possibly going all the way back to 775. It then broke this level and is right back here at VWAP. Now, given that I'm short up here, and I already think it's put in the top when the market decided to go puke city, I do like the notion of consolidating at VWAP and then maybe re-engaging into the short position. This is on volume that it popped up, but a lot of that was churning through that sell order. So if we can hold the line at about 815, I am short way up here at 27, but you can't really concern yourself with that too much. It's more about what's going to happen next. And if it rolls over off this cluster, I want to be maybe adding to the short position around 810 or so. I just want to see it consolidate for a little bit longer before I add any shares on in DD to the short side.
Okay, yeah, look, we talked about this a couple days ago with Pfizer and, trying to find the right, first of all, the spider's still going. We're going to find out here about Pfizer here quickly. It did make a little move down yesterday, and I believe, or was it yesterday or the day before, but we did talk about, possibly what was happening there, and that it didn't make any sense to me why, here, if we can look on what happened on this day. Pfizer, as long as these new variants keep popping up and people want to keep talking about them, then I really do believe that there is a place in everybody's portfolio for at least one of Moderna and or Pfizer. So Pfizer pays a dividend. I think that's important too if you want to sit around and wait. But honestly, at this time, I don't think a dividend's that important because it's capital appreciation. It's moving to the upside, and you have a nice bounce here at 44. Pfizer, in my opinion, continues to work. Like I said, the more we hear about this virus, and its different variants, the more people are going to continue to use words, like Pfizer or companies like Pfizer, like Moderna. So I just think that let's not discount some of these. And I think you can buy any dip here, at least until, back to where that low was. Where was this low? Let's say that these wicks right here. 52, basically, $51, $52. I think that's a little bit of an area that if we crack lower, that would be a concern for me. But for right now, I think Pfizer continues to work. Solid company. Not just that, they have other drugs as well, and others. And don't they have another kind of a fix? I know Merck is working.
They've got a pill, and their pill's more effective than Merck's, man.
So I think there is a runway here for Pfizer to even go higher. So I like a lot of these names, Brendan.
Man, I wish I didn't sell any Pfizer, but then who could have known Omicron was going to come?
Yep.
Yeah, the interesting conversation, I guess, that we'll keep going on here is when it comes to these treatments, what happens now? Because this won't be the last variant, but when we get new variants, what happens to some of these treatments? Let's go to tech, a little more lightning, I guess, enlightening. Global Foundries out with earnings. I think it was aftermarket yesterday. It wasn't doing anything basically in the pre-market. Yes, it was higher, but on very, very light volume. Recent entrant to the market, GFS. There's also Apple, guys. We sat here this morning within that first hour and talked about the importance of Apple and being positive and how that would kind of help the day go along. Just check still, 1.6% here for Apple once again today.
Well, one thing I mentioned when we talked, I traded Global Foundries, and it was a bit of a mixed story because it did give you the bounce which you looked for the dip buy. I didn't love the execution of it for me because I tried to add in front of like 65 and never quite got there, and then I tried to dip buy in the afternoon as well. But overall, I thought it was a pretty solid quarter, turning a somewhat surprise profit for them. I had briefly mentioned that. If just from a pure valuation standpoint, if you're looking at the foundry play, that Intel should catch up with them. If this stock is going to be strong, and you believe that Intel's transition in the next 2 to 5 years is going to be a good one for them, then it should catch up. And it actually performed pretty decent today. And if you look at other names, even not the top end of the big growth chip names, but like an AMAT on the supply side, those did pretty well today as well. So Global Foundries overall, that's got to be seen as a disappointment, right? Like to turn surprise profit here, and as good as this IPO has been, today's trading action probably disappointment because I don't think it mattered that the market was coming down today. They decided to sell that news, and definitely saying that the valuation is a bit rich. So I would suspect that there is a chance Global Foundries might give you a bit of a discount. And if that's going to be the case, if this is going to pull back and break like this, again, the daily chart's not going to show you too much, right? If it's going to break the 60 to 61.50 area, I'd like to be buying in front of the lower highs or the higher low that it put in on the daily. That's 53 to 55. Those are prices that I really want to have. Otherwise, I'm going to be sitting out Global Foundries. I should have bought them the first time it dipped at that price when I didn't get it on the IPO, but I don't want to be paying up here at like 67 to 70 in the long term. I don't know. I guess it's just feeling a little bit cheap. And I think one of the things that has changed is some of the recent IPOs over the last 2 years, you just get caught in this trap of thinking that you can always get a better price, right? I call it the Coinbase effect, essentially, because Coinbase was probably the most extreme example of that, where all you had to do was wait, and you were getting the original 250 price that everyone had ballied about. You didn't have to wait that long. So maybe I got caught in that trap in Global Foundries. It's still pretty early in the game for them. So I think there's going to be some patience to be had with GFS.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loaded up with like Nvidia and AMD and all that. I'd love to get into some GFS. And I had a similar fate, but I got back in and made a little bit back. And you can see it's my only position that I have on board right now is Global Foundries. It's long at 66.75. And again, you know, we started off early in the morning, right as the market opened. We thought that we would sort of try to defend some of these pre-market levels. And then it just came crashing down. I was actually rewatching some of the morning show, and I said, like, oh, if we can get lucky enough to get filled around 68 or 67, that'd be great. And then I was like, that's not happening because it just took out 72. Like, it was almost word for word. And then I got too excited and bumped up my bids to 70 and 71. So when that came crashing down, that was a mistake. And then here's the other bids that I had just sitting right here. So we did get out once it did break through 67, but then it bottomed down, wicked at 66. We don't have any longs there. We punch our ticket long again at 66 and then get it out at 69. So that's $3 made on the way back up. So that's putting us, you know, better into the position here. We lost about $3 going down. So there it is on less shares. Then it comes right back in, and we didn't get everything out there. So we average back here, 67.50. Then we take this bottom again against this floor and then get it out again for a nice win. So 66.50, out some 68.40s, out some 68s, and so on and so forth. So I still think that this can work. We're barcoding right now on Global Foundries. I mean, this is what barcoding means. Looks like a barcode. And I still think we could pop higher. Let's wait to see what the NASDAQ does, but I'm still looking for higher highs, man. I'm looking for not higher highs up here, 70, but higher than this, 68.50. So my offer is actually at $70.40. So I thought we could take this out, but that was during this run. I put that in there. I think it makes sense now to put in half, maybe around the 69 area up here, and then save it to see if we do go for a run here at the end of the day. We only have an hour and a half left, so we got to break through here, then break out past this 68.50. If we can do that, I think we get 69. 70 might be pie in the sky, but I'm going to hold that, see if we can't turn our day around here on GFS.
A couple things of note here. Energy stocks just popping back up. I just checked crude oil. Yeah, like 0.5% now in negative territory. If I zoom out on this a little bit, you'll see we were nicely higher to start things off today, up around 69, 69 and a half again. This thing's come all the way back and then some, back to 65 and a half. This is the crude oil futures contract, obviously. But I just saw XOM and CVX coming back up to the downside as well. There's also this advanced human imaging that keeps popping up, AHI, little tiny one, doing some volume this afternoon. Some of the healthcare equipment makers as well, Alpha Pro Tech, APT, starting to pop back up as more headlines come out about this new variant now in the US as well. So kind of a wide angle to approach. There we go. A wide angle to approach the afternoon, but what are we at? Under 90 minutes, guys, until the close here to try and find some opportunities. But oil, very negative once again.
Here's what I love, right? Brendan can find like 190 minutes. I absolutely love it. But you got
to the close of what?
To the close of
190 minutes?
Wait a minute, that's under.
That's
under 90.
I was going to say.
I was like 190.
What math am I?
I was like,
it did sound like he said 100.
I heard 190.
I mean, obviously, that's why I was like listening and doing the math.
What I was going to say, and I'm going to look at AHI, not Alpha Pro Tech, by the way, but Alpha Pro Tech, the reason you saw the O Canada is because they are a Canadian company.
That's right.
We're in Canada, so we're going to let you know in Saga, not too far from where we're actually sitting right now. Alpha Pro Tech, they make the protective gear, the masks. AHI, which was from this morning, I compounded. Well, I mean not compounded, but it was a good short for me, and then I tried to break out long at 5 during memes and movers. I told you guys. Well, for those of you if you were following along, I'd give it to 480. It's exactly what happened. So follow that rule. Not to want to turn negative on the stock, right? Like initially, I thought it was a good short. It broke out. The breakout wasn't sustained, but it held the higher low. So I guess this would have been an opportunity if I went back and looked at the 450 level. Here's the thing. It's holding up here, and it looks like it wants to break again, but the volume is really starting to taper off. So as I look at this, and I'm going to go right to the 15-minute chart, like directly to the 15-minute chart, and then just have a quick look at where this rejected, right? So immediately, Like the second I look at this, I say to myself, well, you know what, Neil, when you didn't think this one through, when you went long off that 5 break, and clearly I didn't, because when I look at the 15-minute and see these rejections here, usually that's the kind of break I don't want. I want to have a breakout into a previous wick top, right? So that's that's the mistake that I made. I think in that case, you'd much rather be doing a dip buy to give yourself some room to have it win without breaking through that resistance area, and then because that's still in place, it's actually set up for a potential short off the high. So if it does come back towards that high, it can break 5 even. It can get up to like 515, 520, and get in front of that quarter mark and still be a bit of a short. Now, if it breaks the quarters, fair enough. That'll be all systems go, I think. But the volume not really there yet. So AHI, it was a good one this morning. I think it could be something to look at the close. I did add into some DD shares. I said it would need to settle a little bit below VWAP, which is pretty much exactly what it did. And I, as usual, type NASDAQ. It's crazy. Like in my head, I just always, it's like every single stock I think is on the NASDAQ these days. I don't know what it is, but I always type NASDAQ first for everything. And then it's a New York stock. So DD, it settled at VWAP, went back down to $8. Now it's come right back into that 810 level. So I just added to my position. It was 827 I shorted before. So average price now going to be in the teens. I'll get some out in front of 8. I'll scalp some out in front of 790. But this is a stock that just felt like I didn't even realize it was up. Like as much as it was when the market started crashing. And I'm like, if you can get a chance to short something off the high, which has a weak chart, with a defined stop, given what the market was doing, it felt like low-hanging fruits. That's the only reason I'm in this trade. Not even news-related, nothing crazy about it. But yeah, you find something which is flying high on a day like today, and it doesn't make any sense to you. Just jump into the short. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still, like Uber is a reopen play, ride sharing is a reopen play, and Uber's getting crushed today, and DD was at the high. It just felt like...
You see? Yeah, we were talking about that, and I was like, I couldn't figure out like what was wrong with Uber. Like, it's not trading properly, and I think that, that's evident by the stock price. And another one here, thanks to Goldman. What's up, Sam? I see you there in the chat, and thanks for bringing this name up. Facebook today. I think it was some more testifying and things like that about that whistleblower, but that's old news. So I mean, I am really surprised that. I mean, I'm not surprised it's down 2% today. There's a lot of NASDAQ. I mean, I'm just looking like. There's so many sick names, man. Like, honestly, like I've tried to follow Aunt Kathy a little bit, but like UiPath, Teladoc, like Roku down 6%, Clover down 7%, Roblox down 8%. I got out a little bit of Roblox there. Twilio down 8%, Square down 5%, Palantir down 4%. Spotify down 4%. Fisker was riding high, now down 4%. AMD down 4%. Like, there's just an unbelievable amount.
Salesforce 10%.
Well, Salesforce reported.
I know, but 10%.
Well,
10.
I get it, but what I was sort of getting at was just
I know.
that there's a whole bunch of these names, and I said also, man, don't buy Salesforce. Nothing to do with your trade of the day, but I think as an investment, you got to give these things a couple days, and it's just like we are right now getting smoked and getting killed on like everything that was at or near 52-week lows was definitely made today and is definitely down 3 or 4%. So on that note, I don't think Facebook needs to be down here, but again, ball don't lie. The market will tell me where Facebook needs to be, not me, but I can't believe that this has been so beat down over the last couple of days. Like metaverse was all the rage. You're seeing Nvidia pull back. You're seeing AMD pull back. And I'm not selling anything. I think if you were going to sell, first of all, there goes Global Foundries for me now. Now a nice little dollar in the money and starting to rip higher. But I think you're too late to sell anything right now is what I'm trying to get at. So if you haven't sold anything now, you're probably a little late on that. And I would hold everything. And I'm a buyer lower levels, but I'm a buyer of all of these names that are getting killed here, man. I believe in technology, and I think it's the right way to go here. So I'm a buyer, but just I have no idea when and where.
Yeah, I just want to. Someone asked in the chat if it was a good place for like. I think he said medium term. I want to say on Intel because I did mention Global Foundries, and if you believe in that, and again, like one of the reasons to me Intel is in my portfolio. It's not just about the fact that I think it's a bit of a turnaround play. I like Oracle for the same reasons, and that's worked out. It's just about diversity when you're looking at, I guess, the overall chip space. Another reason why I liked AMAT at one point, because I found myself unable to ever add to things like AMC or Nvidia because they just go up in your portfolio, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a spot where, well, you don't want to be overweight. Now, Intel on a day like today or markets like this is not going to drop like everything else, regardless. And I do think, long term, it's definitely a good spot. It's put in a nice higher low already at 49. Like it's just. This 49.50 area has been a good consolidation. It's not really moving from there. It's probably a decent place to hide some coin, especially if you believe in it long term. But I do feel that if you got some like a real like a deeper pullback, right? Like if we actually pull back, let's say, to more correction levels, then you're probably retesting some of that. So I think, ultimately this has been a good place for it. I already have some from way back last year, so it's one thing where I can easily say to myself, well, I have enough in the long term that I can nibble at it next quarter. Or maybe midway through next year, because I think it's a 2 to 5 year type of plan. So I don't want to wait till next year to buy any more shares. That's just myself. But certainly if you have nothing in it and you're looking to get in this name because you believe in the Foundry play, that's the reason to own it, then yeah, this has been a fantastic level to park in. Or just be patient, wait a couple of days off the Global Foundries report, and then see where the bottom ends up there. We were just talking about AHI. I said it can be a fade for me. It's getting pretty close. Like it just broke through 5 even, so it's on the way to that 525. Volume slightly picking up, but not by a whole lot. So I want to give myself some room here between 15s and that 25 level is where I want to start getting into it. Of course, as I say that, I'm sure it'll not even pass 15.
I just want to ask Pratt, is that Super Chicken again? I put it in our chat. Where's Valeria? Who's
It's
over
always Super Chicken.
Pratt!
It's always Super Chicken.
It is. Valeria, is that Super Chicken? All right, so there you go. I just put it in our chat.
Smells
It says,
great, by the
Nose
way.
don't lie there. As soon as I
smells so
smelt that, I was like, okay, Pratt's definitely crushing some more Super Chicken. Man, this dude loves Super Chicken.
But I was telling you the
I
lunch
mean,
wasn't enough today. Like I was hungry after lunch. This isn't helping.
What was it? Just sausage? Oh, sausage
No,
and
it was-
paella. Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, it wasn't paella. You're giving way too much credit.
That's what it said on the thing. I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
We call it paella?
It was seasoned.
I don't know that you can call it paella. Like
I'm not calling it that. That's what it came as, man. I
can't call that paella.
I can show you in my trash.
I
here.
believe you. I believe you.
Look.
Yeah, no.
Spanish sausage.
No, it does. It says it was paella, but
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm just calling it that. I don't want to be discredited here. That's all. But that is what it says. And of course, I have the salad. So, anyways, Prad crushing some good old. But thing is, yeah, you said it wasn't enough. That's fine. But what? But could you just eat a big ass Super Chicken with right now?
no,
No, right? So
like this, if you get, by the way, what Prad's eating is probably conservatively
can we show it?
8 to 1100 calories on the low end. Maybe 12 to 15. Yeah.
If Pratt has like a decent picture of the Super Chicken, like the actual
It's tasty,
burger,
though. It's
chicken burger, then we can show it. But we were talking something about stocks. Oh yeah, Apple. So before we get ready, we're gonna get ready to have Justin on very, very soon. That should be a fun one. Always discussing different ideas. But I think Apple, and I think that there's been some talk here in our chat about where to hide during all of this. I don't think you need to hide in Apple, but I just think, if you did want to get out of some of the high flyers, just because, you were a little bit nervous, you see some of the price action, I think it's way too late to do that. But if you don't and you want to get out of the AMD or the Nvidias or something else, I mean, I'm talking about like big cap tech here. I think Apple's going to be the safest. Apple and Google continue to work, so I think those are very, very safe plays for those of you that are asking about that. See, here we go. Air France considers postponing capital hike due to new virus or Omicron. So this is this is just it's Air France. They're not even, I don't think there's an ADR unless it's over there on the pink sheets. But I think that's going to start to come. So you're going to start to get, United Air. This is why I'm worried about UAL, obviously because of their international exposure. One thing that Neil, I know you probably weren't watching yesterday, and good for you. I don't blame you. But we had a discussion yesterday.
Okay.
And you just tell me what you think, okay? Because the chat went crazy for this, and I just want to know your opinion on this. They probably already know what I'm going to ask here. So when you're talking about like Barack Obama, should you not say? Can you not still say President Obama? Is it like?
First of all,
is your understanding?
Caveat: I'm Canadian, right? So, but my understanding, which is probably informed by movies far too much, is you still say president.
Right. Okay. Good. Because I asked my wife at home. Still,
I would if I were to say it, I would say President Obama. I would say President Trump because it's like for life. Like you get the Secret Service for life. So it's like, oh, seriously, AHI?
You're a smarter guy than me. That's why I wanted to make sure that was right, because we did have that discussion. The chat was going crazy, and you could say there's a couple ways. Former president, you could say. But I thought that it was an understanding. So that's why I almost just now said when President Trump was in office, he right away sort of closed the borders. That was when I remember sitting at home and I was actually watching CNN, or I don't know what I was watching, but and they had the news conference up, and I was like getting like sort of goosebumps. Like I kind of am getting it now because I was like, holy shoot. Like we are actually closing borders, stopping like the trading from I think at that point I think it was just China, but you know we're closing the borders, or I think maybe it was all of Europe actually, closing the borders. And I was like, oh my God, like this is definitely, I mean, who ever thought that we'd be going through a pandemic? But anyways, I think that's the next step, guys. I don't think we're going to go into a full lockdown, cross my fingers, but again, I feel like we have.
You can't. Okay, so
I feel like we have a vaccine.
I hate being political. Like, for example, there's a vaccine now. We're not going into lockdowns in North America. I just can't see any way small businesses probably wouldn't have it. I don't think we're in an environment to be able to accept it. But that's my 2 cents. While we're getting that discussion, and it's fine. Like I said, where I would stop out an AHI. So this is not like I got burned here, but it wasn't like any other possible thing could have happened because I got short in front of 525. It took out that quarters. It got to 31. So I probably, even if I tried to give an extra 5 pennies or so, it still would have wicked me out. The only difference is if I actually gave it all the way to 30s, I would have made the top wick. It's coming right back in, so failed break at the high. So I'm actually going to chase this a little bit further and try to short it at 510 to 515. But yeah, that's a failed breakout this late in the game off of a triple top. Yeah, that's going to be a fade for me. It does still set up that maybe it wants to break out, but yeah, that was AHI. I think it's going to be the one in play. Big volume spike, by the way, when it did that move. But I think this is going to be the one in play going into the close. The other one I talked about was that, oh my goodness, yeah, of course, CNTX was the other one. I got out of it 8 and sort of let off saying this could put in a nice little higher low. Well, I should have just gone long right after getting out of this thing. Already up like 60 or 70 cents. So, you know, maybe it gets a consolidation back at $8. That's a good level for this stock, it looks like. So this one might not be done as well. So AHI, CNTX on my radar, still in DD. I'm not covering anything till 8, and then probably 780, 790 or so.
Just quickly here, give us a thumbs up or let us know when it's ready to go here. But I just want to talk about AMD because people are like, why AMD? Why? I mean, the thing is, man, you have to sometimes be a little lucky, but we smelt this one out. Now we smell the chicken, but we smelt the warning signs out right now for AMD because we were buying dips, man. It was written down on the sticky note. We were doing that. And then we stopped buying dips right here, man, like about 10:30, 10:40. When it stopped working, it did come back to the upside. But you see AMD just kind of spinning to the downside right now. And again, you know, it's people being nervous. They're selling winners. That's all that's happening right now. There's nothing wrong with AMD. It's just when you're up 100, I mean, not 100% in a month, but 50% in a month, even right now. Like, even if you take this out, you're up 50% in a month. So these are some of the names that are going to get sold off, right? To buy some of those depressed assets. So I'm not worried about AMD. I'm not doing anything with my AMD position. But for now and probably for tomorrow, unfortunately, buying the dip is over for AMD. I hear a lot of talking over there. Are we ready? We are ready. Take it, Brendo.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here when it comes to what happened in Washington today as far as the, I guess it's a committee hearing. Right. When it comes to social media platforms. So Justin Kozach, Day Trade the World marketing guy, at TraderTV Justin on Twitter. Go and follow him. Lots of great stuff. Lots of conversations can be had outside of the show when it comes to tech. Before we get to Facebook, still 2.3% on the day, let's talk Twitter because some changes happening already to Twitter's platform. I mean, it's been what? 48 hours, I guess, since CEO departed.
Right, 48 hours since the big announcement on Twitter. Jack is resigning, and in comes the new guy. So very much a case of the new boss is not looking a lot like the old boss, coming in and making a big change to their policy as far as user safety goes. And now their safety policy has stated that they are going to ban the sharing of images or videos of any private individuals without their consent. So this whole story kind of erupted a little bit, and now there's a lot of confusion around, well, what does that mean if I'm at a sports game and there's hundreds of people? Do I have to get consent from all of those people before I can post that image? So this has been this is a tactic that has been often used to harass and make difficult the lives of activists, dissidents, members of minority communities, and women. So certainly they're coming out of the gate swinging, and I'm sure the new CTO, new CEO now is saying let's start to repair the relationship or repair some of the issues that we've had with user safety and the and the complaints that our user base has had, fair and rightful complaints, to make this platform a safer place for people.
We showed that tweet there that I guess kind of kicked this whole thing off. I guess that is the main part, or the most important part that kind of kicked this whole thing off. But more to come, obviously, on the Twitter front, and what this will mean kind of going forward, I think, when it comes to policy making.
Right. I mean, it's very interesting that 48 hours in, they're starting to make these changes to the platform. Certainly, this is being influenced by the new CEO, but and we talked about this on Monday. Is the new leadership within the organization going to start taking product development more seriously? And certainly, this move in updating their user safety policy, I think, is one of, I hope, many steps in certainly the right direction, and improving some of the unfortunately the stagnant product development that we've seen at Twitter.
On that, or on a similar note, in Washington today, there was a House subcommittee once again talking about the use of social media and maybe more controls needed when it comes to social media. Facebook specifically was mentioned, along with a whistleblower once again, and Twitter as well, kind of in passing.
Right. So earlier, as you said, the House, this is very long one, the House Subcommittee on Communications and Technology, which is part of the Committee on Commerce and Energy, or Energy and Commerce, I can't remember how it goes, had a hearing on holding big tech accountable and changing reforms to some of the legal immunities that the platforms like Facebook and Twitter enjoy. For context, this started back in the mid-90s with the introduction of Section 230, which, we're going to summarize it by saying that it makes it easy for internet platforms like Facebook and Twitter to not be held liable for the content that's posted on their platforms. This has been certainly a point of contention among people who use the platforms, as well as lawmakers, not just in the United States, but around the world. And what we're seeing is what we're seeing now, and what we've seen in recent history around Section 230, and the lack of that accountability has caused things like what we saw on January 6th, and COVID-19 misinformation, and more recently what we saw with the testimony from Frances Haugen around body issues being faced by young women who are using Facebook and Instagram. Really, the idea now is to put forth this bill called the Safe Tech Act, which gives Section 230 a little bit more teeth. In terms of ensuring that social media companies are held accountable for the content that's being posted, and are being held liable for cases where there is harassment or discrimination or cyber stalking. So making sure that the companies that provide the tools for people to use these platforms are also being held liable for the content that's being posted there. And
there was a whole algorithm conversation that was had in this same sense as well. I mean, just to kind of sum it up, it's just a control thing, I guess, when it comes to what they're putting out there.
Right, and this is really the heart of this very controversial opinion that people have. One issue is that content is being removed or not removed, depending on the political affiliation of the person who's reading it or the platform in question. Advocates for the legislation are going to say that this is a long overdue change to the law, and whether you agree with that or not is, it depends on whether you are left, center, or right. Opponents are going to say that this is a censorship and that they're preventing me from sharing my opinions and saying the things that I'm saying. Regardless of your politics, silencing voices is never something that people are particularly fond of. Shades of 1984 it certainly is a reference that seems to come out quite frequently, and certainly did today at the testimony that was provided at this House subcommittee meeting. So, but another issue is the algorithms that you mentioned. One of the biggest drivers of this behavior that we're seeing, from controversial opinions to misinformation, is that these algorithms actually create filter bubbles, and these filter bubbles constantly reinforce the opinions of those who believe and share those opinions. A perfect example of that is the 2020 film, The Social Dilemma, which essentially highlights how this works in real life and the implications of it. And I think that is the piece that people don't talk about. That's not the piece that's the piece that people aren't quite aware of. And if you start to even experiment in that, you're going to see what the effect of that is. And that's where radicalization comes into play. And that's why you end up with things like January 6th.
Right. So essentially, people seeing more of what the algorithm thinks they want to see outside of maybe differing opinions. To kind of sum this up, is this, if you joined us this morning, we touched on the UK ruling that was kind of forcing them out of the Giphy transaction, Facebook and Giphy not going to be able to come together. Is this the start of something, bigger and something that will continue down those lines?
I think that that they are somewhat related, but they're also somewhat different. The idea of content moderation and Section 230 and these sorts of conversations, these are complex issues that are a result of a lot of different factors. The biggest one is a lack of diversity within the organization and understanding how people use social media, but also acknowledging or not acknowledging the needs of users, particularly children. Instagram developed Instagram Kids, but at what point did they ever have a conversation with children around how do we ensure that we keep you safe? And I think that's the piece that's not really happening. The Giphy thing is just another instance in a long line of instances where Facebook is essentially being hit with antitrust. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if Facebook is going to be able to win this battle to retain something like Giphy, particularly when you consider that Facebook has or controls about 50% of the digital advertising market in the UK, which is worth about 10 billion US. So I don't think that that's going to happen. I think Giphy will likely get spin off, and Facebook will. I think they'll be forced to sell it off. So they might have to lose the. They might have to take the L on that one. So,
as they say,
as the young kids say, they'll have to take the L on this one, I'm afraid. So. I'll be talking a lot about this issue of not just Facebook and Twitter, but Section 230 and misinformation and legal immunity. There's going to be a lot happening next week. Certainly, the head of Instagram is actually going to be speaking speaking to Senate next week about safety for children and teens, and I'll be covering a lot of that on Twitter at TraderTV, Justin. So I'd love it if you gave it a follow, and I'd like to hear what you think as well. Let's have a conversation about that. This isn't just about me sharing what's happening, but having a conversation with you guys about what you think, what's happening in the world, certainly from Facebook and Twitter and all these other tech things.
And we want to get more involvement, guys. We want to get your feedback on content for the show, and this is a great way to start that conversation. So Justin Kozach, marketing guy at Day Trade the World. Always great content, always great information. Thank you once again.
Thanks again, Brendan.
There we go, guys. A little deep dive, if you will, into what is happening with our friends at Facebook.
Ain't no friend of mine. Damn you, Facebook. Why'd you have to fall off that 350? But yeah, look, always big changes happening. I mean, when you're that important of an entity, I mean, whether or not it's important or not, everybody seems to have a Facebook account, billions of users. No matter what you think about Facebook or Twitter, it looks like it's going to be a part of our sort of social fiber for a little bit now as we move forward. And on that note, make sure you join our Discord channel. Check out our Twitter feeds and things like that. You'll be able to find a video which has the link in it to join up our Discord server. So we've sort of moved to that way as well. And I think that Discord was going to go public. I don't know if it still is. There was that IPOF. And then there was also talk of Microsoft buying them, but that's not going to happen. They turned that down. That was for like 6 to 10 billion, something like that. They were thinking about it, but yeah, good. Thanks a lot for that, Justin. It's always nice to get, fresh opinions.
Exactly, and we look forward to having Justin on again, as always, and keep the questions and conversation coming on our chat as well. A couple of things happening here while we were doing that. One was this ISPC, which been left for dead, I think, after it made a nice move off the open if you had it to the long side. I think we touched on this in the pre-market, or not in the pre-market, I guess after it opened up and halted to the upside. It made the hard top. I didn't catch it on the short side, but it then put in this lower high at $18, which is what interests me right now because it bounced off 15, went right in close to that 18, got to like 17.60, and the sellers started to come in, saw some size offers in there. I took shorts at the 25 mark. I'm actually on the bid. Come on, give me a fill here in the 3/4. Try to scalp 50 cents and see if it can get back down to 16 even. But this is looks like it could be a runner for the afternoon. I just took some shares out, so I can do this. Yay! Yay! Usually I wait till after we throw to Brennan and get a winning trade, but because I'm throwing to him right now, I'll pop that one in for the DD short, which continues to work. Brendo.
All right. While we were discussing Facebook, guys, a headline here for Moderna. They're now saying possibly March to have a Omicron specific booster ready. So that's quite different from what we heard 2 days ago, that it could be 6 months to even a year before something would be ready. So this is what we were saying, like more information comes out and or more information is processed and data is processed, and here we go. It could be March now.
I mean, I turned to Neil. I thought actually March was late, to be honest with you. I didn't realize that they had actually said maybe 6 months, but I feel like they could probably have it even faster than that. Did they mention there? Okay, I'm just seeing the headline now. Ready as soon as March. So I don't know if that means like distribution or because I'm under the impression.
Something to get approvals, like.
Well, approvals. That's what I'm saying. Like I was under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that they had the initial vaccine within like the first 24 to 48 hours of actually starting to test COVID-19. So I am surprised how long it would take for this, but hey, maybe that is the case. I guess we wait to hear out now from Pfizer BioNTech to see how long theirs would take. But March, to me, that's a sell the news type of situation right there.
Moderna actually just came off on it. I just had ISPC. I just got a fill, so I'll let you guys know I got that 80 fill. But Moderna is
like that story was 12 minutes ago, right? So if you go right here, 12 minutes ago is like 50, so 250. So it's right about here, and look at the market now at day's low. So I think that they probably agree with that assessment there. That seems too far, man. March. Like we're only in December. Like if they're thinking that they can get it ready by, like it just says ready by March. I don't know what that means. So I mean, like Neil said, then they're gonna have to get approvals. Yeah, right. Like how long is that gonna take for the FDA or whatever agency needs to approve it in whatever country? I feel like that's way too long. So, man. Damn it, I feel like we should have sold a little bit more into this last week and so on and so forth. But a lot of these names, I mean, I see people talking about Palantir like, look, I can't be more upset about this. Well, I mean, I can be. It's not, again, like sure, I own Palantir. I mean, there's no doubt about that. We've continued to talk about that, and I've mentioned that over and over again, what my positions are and so on and so forth. But, let's go, Palantir.New York. I don't know what to say about it other than, it continues to fall. I mean, there's a lot of names here that look like this. I mean, we talked about Clover being at the lows. Basically, what about C3 AI? What about Roku? What about a lot of these other names? Like I just looked at Uber, 30, okay, so Palantir's bad. For sure. Like if you go back to November, even if you go back, let's just go to here. September. So September 24th, we were at $28. You're now at 19. Okay, so you're losing a third of the value, right? I mean, look at some of these other high-flying names here that if you're in anything that had sort of a growth trajectory and you're paying up for that, come on.
Uber's close to the 33 level from, like when it was a 200 period buy in October.
Right.
Like, I'm talking October last year, by the way. But, I mean, you look at some of these levels that are coming in on these stocks. I mean, Uber is, it's not cut in half. But it's not that far away from cut in half. Actually, it's going to get there.
You're right.
Right, it's not crazy to say. Like there's a lot of these names that look like this. In C3AI reporting tonight.
Whew, like look at Uber. Like this is Uber's daily chart. Like here's September, what we were talking about with Palantir. So this is $50 or whatever. I mean, we can just use whatever math. $48, right? Take a third out of that, we're back downside, right? So it's not quite as dramatic, but there's Uber, just tank city as well. So I don't know what plays are going to work right now. Obviously, you see another play that we've talked about that I most recently bought, some at 130 and then some again at, I don't want to say, I'm going to call it Teladoc here because it was oops, that's a New York name? Like you said, that's surprising to me too.
Right.
Okay, so Teladoc right here coming through now at $95. I mean, this is a brand new 52-week low. This name you would think would work in this environment.
Yeah, healthcare's up today.
So once again, it looks like some of these names, man, and I hope we really didn't get the sort of the rug pulled from underneath of us here.
I want to say about Teladoc because it's a growth thing, but it's when I say healthcare under my breath, when I say healthcare is up today a couple of times, it's not just Pfizer that's up today. Like go look at United Health is up today, Danaher is up today. Like it's like so for Teladoc to not catch anything because Teladoc is a stay-at-home name, B it's in the healthcare sector. So for it to sell off under this tells you that this is more like it's like you're getting a bit of the whole taper situation, and then on top of that, you're piling in with the variant. I think it's complicating things because something like Peloton doesn't get positive today, right? Like if we're talking about considering things slowing back down again, Peloton's a high valuation type of name and a growth type of name instead of an earnings and a cash flow story. So it's getting that bump down and it's not catching that bid. So that's why you hear Sean talk about Apple or go into some of the staple healthcare type names or something which has lazy, boring cash flow like an Intel. I'm going to look at a firm here right now because everyone's talking about it. And look, this is a level that I guess I've been waiting to break. before I actually bought more shares of a firm. Granted, I probably sold some of my firm shares when I did cover any, probably a little bit literally, and I've been waiting for an opportunity to get back in. Do I want to wait for the 200 period at $90? No, I don't think so. But we break this level right here, this 118, 119 support. I really do think it's like, okay, 105, 110 in front of $100 in the long term is where it's going to be. Worth noting, if you go to the 15-minute, like I know we've broken the low of the day. We're still sitting right here, at this level, like right off this bottom, 118.75, 118.80. So it's trying to hold up. It's actually going to be breaking that, as we speak. Now we just got through it. Like literally, as I was saying it, it broke right through this level. This is where I think a firm starts to get interesting down towards that 105, 110 area in the long term. I'm gonna probably get a stink bid out there for sure. Because I think there's going to be an opportunity down there because the firm getting beaten up. And again, if you like, there's names that you like, you pull out the shopping list. But clearly we're still headed lower in a host of names, and it's not just about this variant. You've got to keep in mind some of this is in reaction to the inflation and some of the taper talk and sort of the environment of probably earlier rate raising that I think the market's starting to price in here. Brennan.
Fuel cell just popping up here. I haven't seen this one for a few days, anyways. Big flush there, I guess, through 810, maybe 820 day lows. Monster sell order went off, so 6.5%. Wrong space for this environment, I guess, for F-cell.
But why? I mean, that's the thing. Like, but why? Like, why?
It's just, yeah.
Why is FCell? And it's not about what Brandon said. It's about everything. It's like why? Like, why are some of these names down so far?
Same
like,
thing.
I mean, FCell's not down that far actually. But like, what really has changed? Like, are people still buying EV names? Are people still, thinking about charging stations and EV and clean energy? I just don't know. And we've had this drop before. So I don't think it's overreacting. I think we're very, very early stages. And look, don't get me wrong. Even if this is the most serious variant of all, I still don't think we get an epic collapse in the market like we did before. But if we do, man, I would say you may want to get into some cash like ASAP. If you're into a name like Fuel Cell, you still have some of these bottoms. But I'm telling you, like the minute it gets near here, they're going to take this out. And I just think that it's a sell. It's a big time sell in a lot of these names. Like you're going to have the runners every day. You're going to have those AHIs and all these crazy ones, ABUS. And I mean, we're still going to have a lot of fun day trading. But I'm a little bit worried here on some of these longer term positions that people like, because it's not pretty. Like Palantir's down. We talked about that. Roku. But even this name, like, let's just say you thought, okay, FCell, it's off the bottom, trying to break some of these highs. Maybe you go long $10. Like, you're still down now, that 20-25% on this, which is not nice. Back down to $8. Nvidia, I mean, Nvidia is starting to crack right now as well. I think we should go over to Nvidia and just have a quick look because we are now at some of these day lows of a lot of these names. So it might be time just to bite the bullet.
Intel was up and it just turned red too.
Yeah, I was going to say it might be. I mean, this was never up, but probably up earlier. But look at how nasty this has been here today. I mean, I bought. This is what I mean. I recently bought Nvidia at 311 or 312, 312.50 or something like that, 314, and then we've just ripped up. I mean, it was a great trade at that time, all the way back to 330, 340, putting me 10% or so, less than that. 8% in the money, and now it's giving it all the way back. So I think you got to have some dry powder and start to buy names that you like down here because we said this, and again, we can just rewind. And I feel like a broken record, but I think it's important to say, like, there's been a lot of movement here in the last couple of days, and I said, first of all, that the NASDAQ would pull back 3%. I mean, I said that even before we talked about a lot of these viruses and stuff like that. So I think 3 to 4% actually, and that's $400. So we still have a lot more to go on this to the downside. I wouldn't be surprised if we, come to this 380, something like that here on the Qs. And I just think that there's more downturn to go. And I look at the 3-day rule. I think that today is probably day like 1.5 because you did have a bad day yesterday, about half of a day, and then today's been pretty bad. So I look to maybe pick some up. What day is tomorrow? Thursday, maybe Friday afternoon or so. I think we may get some reprieve, but not until then.
Just remember some of the names that were like before when it was inflation fears, because I think some of it gets lost in terms of thinking about the variant and that scare, because Procter's up 2% today. Without without looking, I'll pull up Pepsi, and again, I haven't even looked at Pepsi today, but the second I see Procter up, I know Pepsi's up. And you have to look to some of these, and this is why when people talk about like a balanced portfolio, like the types of names and why you include them in your portfolio, because you will have this opportunity. And again, this is something which has given you some growth, but in a day like today, especially in an inflationary environment where you get pricing power, that's why Apple, of course, is good. But both those, if you believe the consumption is not going anywhere, because it's not, ultimately, there's some very specific things that I think could be coming to the downside, but you look at relative strength on days like today and where it happens to be. So I just wanted to point out those two names. To come back to some of these day traders, because hey, these movers are movers for a reason. This ISPC, it looks like, it caught a bit of a bid here at 1640. I'm sitting in front of 16 right here at 1615, but this 1640 level, I don't know, it just feels like this is a bit of a refresher. There's nothing on the level 2 that really indicates. Like there was no big size buyer. It's a pretty thinly traded stock, but somebody was picking it up at that price. So I'm in front of 16. I'm going to let it try to clear this, but with only 45 minutes to go, I might cover this around 1650. If we start getting a little bit closer to the close and I find myself still stuck in it, then at some point I have to give it up, right? Like we can't hold it overnight or anything like that. You guys know we're day trading here. So ISPC, it's got a spread as well, 15, 20 cents. I don't want to get trapped in it. DD is a little bit different. Like I feel like I could be in DD up until the close. As it starts to work down towards the bottom, like I said, if it broke that 8 even, I'm looking to get on the bid. I don't know why I'm not on it right now. Gonna hop on, like 92s. And again, DD was just, this is all beams and movers because someone I don't even know if it was Pratt. I think someone in the chat was like, DD's up 8%.
Yeah.
It might not have even been
He
Trader
wasn't even
Pratt.
on our radar, really.
No, it wasn't. I still don't understand why it was up to. There must be news on DD. Like, why was it trading up at 8% when the market was essentially down? Like, it was just kind of on its own in the midst of a monster breakout. And then when the market started coming in, it was just holding the high. That's pretty interesting anyway. So I got those two shorts on. I don't really see too much of anything else. I missed the bounce opportunity on CMTX. I got out of the short, and then it gave you that bounce off. This is my 15-minute chart still, so sorry for that. It gave you that bounce off at $8, and now it goes into VWAP and then comes right back into 8. I don't know if I love it down here again. I think it gave you this once. I don't know if I want to necessarily chase that same magic twice. I feel like if it gets there, it might break the low. So I'm not going to double dip into this one. Well, I didn't get it the first time, but I wouldn't go back to that well at $8 on CNTX.
Has anybody, and it's kind of like a rhetorical question here, but someone just put in the chat that Upstart was getting, clubbed here. And I wish, I haven't seen, and I hope everything's okay, because remember Jacqueline Cobb used to be in our chat, and she talked about Upstart, and I believe she worked, I don't know if she worked at ARC or something, but I just trying to remember. I can't see the chat all the time, but I think there was something about that, and she was a big supporter of Upstart. It's too bad she's not around right now, because I just wanted to see, like, what the hell do we...
That's at the 200 range.
Like what? Like, this was a name that everybody loved, Upstart, man. And this is part of the problem. Honestly, like, you listen to podcasts, you listen to different things like this, and people have all these great ideas, and it's like, oh, Upstart fell down to 320. This is a great buying opportunity, and it's like, what did everybody miss in all of these names? Like, I really feel, honestly, like, I feel kind of duped here with a lot of these names, man. Like, I'm not into Upstart, but, like, why are people recommending this thing? Like, here, 300, 260, 250, like, now you're down to 178. I feel, Brendan, like, there's really something, and maybe it's Upstart specific, but there's a lot of these names, man. UiPath, C3AI, a lot of these names that recently came to market. PaySafe, PaySafe is one of mine. That's down 50%.
Look at C3AI. Like, that's at 34 right now. 34 down
Brendan.
8%.
Maybe Brendan has something. What's up?
There's actually nothing specific on that, but I just wanted to mention this, guys, as we sit here. ARC, the main ETF, breaking through 100 as we speak. So, yeah, we are now below $100 on our ARKK.
Like, okay, so
there you go.
There we go. Like, the smartest person in the room is supposed to be Kathy Wood, and the main one, right? ARKK. So, that's an Amex name. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so ARKK, yeah, just making the moves right now. And when you're looking at this, all you have to do is look back, and like, they've been negative on the year for a while, and now you're going to see that again. And this is a play. We all know about it. And I'm not going to sit here and say, like, why would you invest in something like this? I love ARK, and I actually might I'm almost done, honestly, getting these ulcers and things like that, watching some of these positions just continue to make moves to the downside, like why not just pay someone a percentage to manage an ETF? And I think that's what they're trying to do here at ARK. But you go back down to December, January, let's just go year over year. So today's December 1st. So we're right here, 112 last year at this time, right? So now you're breaking back down. So the ARK this is the innovation, right? ETF is down now about 14, 15% year over year, let alone what they're down if you take from Jan 1. So yeah, we had a monster move up here, and I think a lot of us got carried away back in January, February, paying these outrageous prices for what was to be the future. And right now, I feel like this is like back to the future, man. Like, are none of these companies going to work? But I mean, down to 99.60, and it looks like it's still pushing here, Neil. Wow, ugly.
Pardon my chart here for a second, because I want to, on the theme of just, I guess maybe going back to some other names, because we showed a little bit of Pepsi and a little bit of Procter & Gamble. Well, I'll show you the banks and JPM holding a 200 period here, and I can flip to Morgan.
Try it if you just call up like, what if you just call up like XFX?
Oh, Morgan Stanley's not even I should have called the ETF. Is the ETF better in our charts? But my whole point is that if you look at the banking sector, again, from the interest rate standpoint and the tapering standpoint, they're holding up pretty nicely. And that's the reason why, there's other names that you can hold in your portfolio.
Sure,
that
go to XLF.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's
AM.
Yeah, obviously I go to XLF. This chart's not going to screw me. There's no chance.
It's AMEX.
Yeah, because it's AMEX.
Well, first of all, it's not going to load.
No, it's loading. It's loading. But there you go. Like, it's just the daily chart's way better on this than just picking a random bank. Yeah, but again, it's the same thing. It's held up very, very nicely today. It's flat on the session, but you want to find. Whereas, in case you weren't thinking about this, because if you were just saying to yourself, okay, Omicron, everything is tanking, well, then you might ignore some of the names that will hold up better in a raising rate environment, right? Like some of those in an inflationary environment. So when we talk about the bank sector, I like healthcare, and we talk about consumer staples that are going to be good. Apple falls into that category. Pepsi falls in that category. Pick ones that you like. I mean, I know I'm saying Pepsi and Procter because those just happen to be the two that I named. But you do your own diligence there, and then suddenly it's not that bad. You can go hunting for garbage or. Okay.
Yep.
When I say hunting for garbage, because I was about to talk about Virgin Galactic.
I'm fine with that name.
But you can go. But you can go hunting for things like garbage and Virgin Galactic.
That's what I meant to talk
is
about.
Right down in those teens, right? So this is finally. And remember, I said for a very long time the stock was going to break 18 and head right down to this level here, like this 14 to 15 area. It took a while for it to happen. I don't know how it held up this well, but it had. Now it's getting down to these prices where if you're looking for a shot play on something like this has been where it's had that floor previously, right? Like if you look at the actual support in the stock, it's been $14, $15, right? So it's stink bid time, baby. I'm going to get mine out. Well, I mean, I can't. Probably after.
I mean, even just current bid is kind of like stink bid.
Well, the current bid is the stink bid, but we can't do that kind of thing, during the show. But it's getting to that level where if you believe them and just sort of keep in mind with some of these plays, like there's a finite level of time where I think you got to allow it to work. They've got some catalysts with some launches coming next year, and it's like something like a Lemonade, right? Like I think I said previous on Lemonade. They've got about just over 2 years of runway when it comes to cash. Like you don't hold on to that forever. But you do want to see that play itself out within that 2 years. So you look for those stink bids, I think, to buy in front of really good support. There's no need to jump into it at 22, 23. So now I kind of feel like it makes some sense to dabble in it. But you don't buy it unless if you're not willing to hold that to like $10 to $8 to hold on to it for a year or two, then you don't have to be involved in it. But go buy the index. And of course, CNTX. Like, give me a break, right? Like, I don't short this thing. This was probably the best, like my best short today. Like this is what it does at VWAP. Like give me a break. I'm sitting here in DD and ISPC. ISPC is just holding. It's the same buyer at 40 to 45. It's still there and it's not going anywhere. But CNTX is falling like an absolute, it's just dying here down at $7. So that felt like, this is what I kind of thought that ISPC would be doing. Looks like CNTX just fell off an absolute cliff.
All right. We got a question about Roblox here. So, and I apologize. I forget. I didn't see I saw who it was, but I can't remember right now. I'm choosing Win over MGM, Sam. Okay. So, someone asking me right now on the chat about what should they do with their Roblox position. They're getting absolutely woodshedded on it. And I mean, honestly, I think that you were long at 125 or something. I mean, this is just another one of those names, man. We talked about that over and over. I think you're looking at this, like an Upstart or like something like that, where we're uncertain of where we're going globally now with this virus. I think it's a mistake to sell Roblox here. Their quarter was monstrous, and they only had good things to say. And that's why. How often are you going to see a stock basically double? I mean, that's what happened, right? It was $80. It went to 140, double top, triple top there a little bit, and now is dancing back to the downside. And I said this earlier today. People are selling the winners. They're selling the winners. That's what you're supposed to do. When you're into a Roblox, when you're into an AMD, when you're into an Nvidia, and right now you're trying to raise cash. Like, are you going to sell Clover at $4? When your average price is $8, or are you going to sell Roblox when you're somewhere long down here or anywhere? Even if you're long like you were, my friend there asking the question, you're part of the sells. So when it's coming to the downside, it's people saying, oh, you know what? This hit's not that bad. I'm going to get out right now. I just think that that's a mistake. I think you never want to sell and whatever. This is just our opinion. We're just two day traders here. We're not financial advice, but you never ever want to sell when there's blood in the streets, because all you're going to wind up doing is putting your own blood on those streets. And then when it gets picked back up, trust me, I've been there hundreds of times, as have you guys. It's like, why did I sell that? Why did I do that? And it's just a lot of the times these kind of moves to the downside are managing your own fears. And I know that's crazy to say that because you're dealing with real money, and I don't want anyone to say Sean said not to sell this. I mean, make your own decisions, but honestly, in a day where you're down 11 and 12%, when it's not stock specific, I worry a little bit that you may regret selling any of your positions right now. So that's my call there. And I think if you wanted to raise some capital, some of the banks are still relatively high, and I would rather sell something like that than some of these names down 11, 12, 15% today.
Yeah, I mean, I never sell my Canadian banks, but I mean, and again, everyone has to do their own thing. I think that's important. Someone asked about the meme stocks. I mean, all I will say is, much like AMC, I mean, GameStop down 10%, breaking its 200-period moving average. This is just pure downward momentum. Like this, to Sean's point, the other thing that's going to get obviously sold is the things that were the most quote-unquote inflated. So you might see that pressure continue here. Brendo's got another name for us, though.
One catching a bid, in fact. Chinese website Weibo, Weibo Corporation, just popping up here. They were talking about a Hong Kong listing. This was earlier today, about 1 o'clock, so heads up. But WB just popping up back through 37 there, guys, on monster volume.
WB? Okay, I wanted to actually look at AMC quickly here, too. What the... Okay, attention AMC holders, you are now getting taken out back and literally left for dead as 27. AMC is down to $27. Like, I honestly, man, I can't, none of us can be happy with this. I don't hold any AMC, but again, like this name just getting absolutely tanked. We crossed that 200-period moving average. You're down 20 points right now, with percentage points on AMC right here today. Wowzers. Not, without anything to say here. I mean, we could try to find some 20%. Levels. I mean, I just feel like this is just getting absolutely destroyed. Look at this, man. We broke 30. We're down here just now. I mean, this is a monster. We touched 26 and change, trying to break back up. Let's take a 28 bid through this. I think this is a good, you guys want to swing something? I think you could swing AMC. Let's go long.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at GameStop and was like, oh, 8-9%. 17% is that's a different stratosphere. Like, that's worth it.
I saw you over there on GameStop, and I was like, I'm just going to look at AMC.
I was shocked because I was trading AMC off its 50-period moving average. Like, this was right. Like, we just came on the show. Like, we had just come back on, and I was like, oh, so there's not the 50, the 200-period moving average. And I had just played it a couple of times off of that level, and then that happened. I mean, I wish I had stuck with that and looked at it, because that is absolute insanity. When you see a capitulation wick like this as a day trader, that's usually an opportunity to get in almost every single time. And then I just saw the same thing in that CNTX, by the way. So if you look at some of these bottoms, and again, this is an unrelated stock, but that's a capitulation bottom on this stock as well, down at 720, and then it just popped $1. So a lot of times it's more about the bid removing itself than anything else. And then you just get it almost like it falls back up, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I think that's a good word. I think, so we are long right now off a 28 break. I just punched it. I didn't even... The price was irrelevant. I actually got 28.02. The volume is amazing. The liquidity, I should say, is amazing, and the volume here on AMC. So just to give you guys a game plan, I'm I'm not going to paper hands this one. I'm going to try to hold it. We're going to see if we can't barbecue up some profits here on AMC, and I'm willing to hold this one all the way to its low of the day. So you tell me that's crazy or not, but you break that back down through 26.85, and Bob's your uncle, because whatever. I don't think, like, somebody got flushed out there. I don't know if there was news or not or what, but someone just gave up their bags here on AMC and we're like, that's it, man. I've had enough. And I believe it was probably somebody that tried to defend somewhere around here, 31, 32. You can see the daily chart. Someone's probably caught right here, 33, 34, and it broke the 200 period, and they were like, see ya, I'm out of this name. So that's what I believe just happened, but that's based on nothing, just based on some of the price action. I mean, some of these wicks, they didn't last long. So, I mean, it went down for time, just not a long time there. I wish I was watching it, but down to 26.87. So right now we're long. We're in the money 30 cents. That's not going to be good enough for me. Our out is going to be up here somewhere, 28. I mean, I put an offer out, I can tell you right now, 28.80. So we'll see if that can come back to the upside. See if we can't take a smooth 80 cents on this. And then maybe we're lucky enough to get back to this 29.50 area, which would be a area of concern, not a variant of concern. So on that note, Global Foundries, Neil, did go back down. So we miss out the opportunity to get out at 68. I'm not going to miss that again. I do have an offer in the 90s here for GFS. So again, nice trade. We're in the money, 75 cents. Let's just hope that this can rally back. Yesterday was the end of the month, Neil, obviously.
True.
And we did have a big sell-off at the end of the day on sell side imbalances. So we'll see what January, hey, what's up? What December brings for us here as we look forward to imbalances again, and those are coming in 20 minutes.
Yeah, and just to go over some positions, I still have DD. I kind of misspoke in the chat. I got out of ISPC. I'm holding on to DD. It's still at that low of the day, but the ISPC, when you see some of those, like that CNTX there, make a bit of a bottom, like covering at 16 makes all the sense in the world. No need to have this catch a bit of a bottom like CNTX did. You're going to still hold on to the DD position, if only because the market is still down at that low, and I kind of feel like that's going to follow things a little bit more. I was watching CRM, which you guys saw go over, like that was not a very good long position. And again, if you're starting to think about stocks that have been beaten up, I mean, here's a Salesforce at the 250 period. Now, here's a company I like, and here's a company that I think, eventually there's going to be an opportunity to pick this one up. And I said, like on the morning show, I kind of said, next week for this 250 level, for this 200 period, for this 200 period moving average, and looks like that could be tomorrow. If things went crazy enough in the next 20 minutes, that could be today. I don't think that's going to happen, but certainly that's coming into play a lot faster than I would have thought.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I think I had like a slip of the tongue, and I was like, oh, if it hits 250 today. And then I corrected myself. I was same as you. I was like, let's give this the 3-day rule or something. And then now we're staring that right in the face. So wow, it just continues to be, not a nice day here for that. So we've already talked a little bit about that GFS that is now coming back in there. So I don't know what to do with this name. I still think, maybe now we take out these bottoms. I'm happy if I'm not happy because we gave some up, but we took out 60% right here on that battle back. It's going to be a negative name for me today, but again, like I just mentioned there, I'm somewhat happy with the way it's trading. So not right now, but it was barcoding here. I just think if we get a little bit of a bump up here, I will get my 68. So I know that sounds crazy, but I have stared the proverbial gift horse in the mouth a couple times on this GFS. So I don't know. I'm just gonna double check my out. My out is down here. Just checking it, 66 breaks. So yeah, so that's exactly what I want. So if it comes back down and breaks 66, we'll get out of this one. That's going to be my GFS trade. It sucks, but at this point, I've sort of made my bed, and now I have to lay in it. I think that's how it goes. What's up, Brandon?
Good news, guys. In Canada, Pfizer has officially begun the application process for their treatment pill for COVID-19 for Health Canada. So I just saw Pfizer, still 2%, right at day highs.
And obviously, that's going to be, again, we talk about healthcare and Pfizer is going to be strong today, but that's CRM. We're now at 253, so the market's still kind of coming in here. Now, obviously, for the day trade aspect of it, sitting in front of a 250 bid, 332 and the imbalances are going to come out, probably a bit of a dangerous thing. But in the back of my mind, I have to think about, okay, well, what happens if 350 comes and you get a buy imbalance on any one of these names? Like, you want to be able to quickly react, and I know that's a level that I like on CRM. So we'll see. Like, there's no guarantee there's going to be massive imbalances, but this is a monster outsized move a monster reversal in the overall market. And sometimes on those types of days, you will get some extra volatility around those imbalances. Another one from this morning, like, give me a break, OP. This stock from this morning, that also fell off a cliff. So forget about catching a bit of a bid. This is all the way back down. I mean, I didn't get back into this short. This is one where I canceled my stop at 870 to go get my lunch and didn't put it back in when I sat down. And then look how gorgeous it's been. This is obviously a move. I wasn't here yesterday, but this is one of those halts 8 gajillion times on the way up and then retest $4. Looks like it's doing everything in its power to get back to that $4 level. At least that's what I can tell here. So have a quick look at that one if you can. If you're short, I mean, it's almost like a hold on to anything short. If you have it and it's still going down, which is most of the overall market. I just have DD, which is off of the lows, and not really seeing anything worth buying right now.
All right, I feel like we're just kind of like stuck here on AMC. I mean, I wish this would have a chance to go here, but yeah, AMC, the put of the day. I think that's probably right. Netflix being down 4%, also very, very interesting to me as well. But hey, man, it can't be a successful show unless we have Valeria on it. That's for damn sure. So let's throw over to Valeria right now.
Hey Sean, we've got a super chat from Nick W. Could you guys please take a look at CRWD, CrowdStrike? It has earnings tonight, and Nick loved the name and has had a huge pullback. Think he may test 180, but want to buy it. CRWD, guys.
CrowdStrike. Can you double check, Valeria? I mean, I know on the note it says they report tonight. I didn't see them on our earnings board, and I feel like they've already reported. I feel like they have, but maybe they have not. So look,
Palo Alto reported, but
I'm almost certain CrowdStrike did too, but I mean, could be wrong on this one. So we'll just double check. I mean, that's why, Valeria and Brennan are right there. So they'll hit us up with that one. But maybe they haven't. This is the 1 minute chart. This is another name again, Spank City, right? People selling the winners. But today, wow. Okay, so I just misspoke. I thought CrowdStrike was still hanging out high side. But wow, they already broke their 200 period moving average. I mean, here we go again. Like, I look at a name like CrowdStrike, and honestly, and I know I've been like touting Palantir and this and that and blah, 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 but I feel the same way about names like CrowdStrike. And it's like, I'm not in this name, but is this a time to get in? You're right back here into some past support. Like, we're all the way back, man. This is like March of 2021 again that we're talking about here. It's unbelievable, some of these moves that have been happening, and I just really don't know where we go from here, guys. So, I mean, for me, I like CrowdStrike. I like the space. I think you're foolish not to like the space right now. Cybersecurity always gets talked about. It's on people's minds pretty much all the time. So I like CrowdStrike here. I just can't believe how far down we are, and I think you have some support. This is what I mean. Are you going to sell this today when realistically you probably only have like $20 more of downside, right? So again, I don't want anybody to hold us to any of these calls in case you do have some serious cash on here. But my opinion, again, we talked about Palo Alto. We can look that up to see what that's doing. But right now, CrowdStrike just way far, way down, man. And December 1st, AMC and Crowd. What? AMC? No, aftermarket close. Duh. I'm in AMC, so like my mind right now is like crushed. But yeah, aftermarket close. So it is tonight. So hey, I think it's going to be good. I mean, again, no crystal ball, but why would they report anything bad? So I don't know. Let's just see where it goes. I believe more and more companies investing in more and more people investing in security, and especially with the at-home crowd right now. You got to protect your servers. You got to protect the VPNs. I like CrowdStrike, but take it for what it's worth. I had no idea it even cracked. I mean, I wasn't here one day last week, but I had no idea that it even cracked the 200 period. So that is what that is, guys.
Yeah, I was surprised by that as well. I mean, Palo Alto is only down. It's only down about 3% or so, or just actually a little bit less than that. And then, like, that could be a name that, like, maybe you prefer, like, a safer name if you wanted to. I know it's expensive, but it could be a safer name to pick up if you do get a bad reaction to the CrowdStrike earnings, which is certainly in this market, man. At this point, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just beat up and down and then even had solid guidance. It's like, like Sean said, I couldn't imagine that they wouldn't, but and then could still possibly trade down. It does feel like it's a little bit too far. There is a safer name out there. Most people will tell you PanW for sure. CRM watch. I mean, yeah, 250, man. It's just like it was a Freudian slip, but it also could have just been calling the future because the market continues to slide down. And looking at the ES here, down 0.5%. The NASDAQ, it bounced a little bit, but back below 16,000, that magic number. And then CRM. Guidance wasn't great, but I mean the overall earnings weren't exactly the end of the world, but doom and gloom here, down 11%. And this is why, like, no matter what, like whether you're short, whether you're long, if you're day trading, always have an out, because I'm glad I didn't fight this one. There's been no turn in sight. Like there's been little bounce plays, like maybe you had this 57 for a couple of dollars and you time it just right, or you time it right when it double bottoms and get $1 or $2 out of there. But that's all you got. Otherwise, you're fighting the tape and getting absolutely shellacked. And so always have an out. I think that's probably the best thing for any short-term or day trader. Have that notion before you get in, right? Like I never want to make a trade. If it's a trade, I've got to understand what it means to be wrong, whether that is price action in the futures, in the overall market, or a related name. Like if I'm trading, like maybe you could be trading like Mara and it could be like Bitcoin doing something, or it's just a specific price area that you're looking at, support and resistance, or some indicator that you like whatever it is, know what it means to be wrong. That way, when it happens, you just get out because you're like, oh, I already told myself I was wrong if this happens. I'm just getting out of that position instead of doubling down or holding on to it or turning into a swing trade or all the sort of host of things that we say not to do or anybody says not to do. Like look a gift horse in the mouth, which I don't want to do in DT. 10 minutes till imbalances come out. I said I would hold, I could probably hold on to this one into the close, but I kind of don't want to hold anything into that 350. I think there could be some movers at that time that could be worth trading. So, DT, the last thing I'm in, I might just cover this one in the next like 5 or 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be wrong. Try not to hold anything in today's environment. So we'll just continue to look at that as a positive thing. And I'm the same way now. Global Foundries just went red for me here on this trade. And we've, charts on this trade as we're just trying to bounce. Well, it's not really, but it's trying to bounce around here for us off of this long 66.50 here on GFS. So we'll see if that turns red or not for us. And then AMC, I thought we could get going there. And I mean, again, it looks like we made a mistake one more time. Not one more time, but we made a mistake here with AMC not getting out at 50. So here we go. Now we're going to, like I said, man, we're going to make that bet and we're going to lay in this thing because I'm going to wait to 26.85. I'm going to wait for the end of the day here and see what happens with AMC. But now I am changing. We will take 50 cents on half of this trade if it does come back up here. I mean, that makes sense to me. So we'll see if that can happen. Right now, 28.50 or so for AMC. That's going to be my new target on the first half. And then the next half, I don't know where I'm going to get out of that one. I was hoping 29, but that may not happen. We are going to try to buy some 27.50s as well. So we'll look to buy some 27.50s and at the same time get out if it does come back to the upside at 28, because now we have 11 minutes left, right? I mean, the thing about it is, and I just see someone right now as I glance up there at the chat and notice that Apple, people saying Apple's still holding up. Yeah, like look at Apple, man, green on the day. So Apple still remains positive, and we talked about it might not be the best place to hide because if the indexes come down, Apple will come down with them. But obviously, Apple also helping out the indexes. So we could be a hell of a lot redder today if Apple was down like some of these other names. But, Apple's been holding out okay today. So I think this is a name that needs to be bought. I think you'll see on the imbalance locator, I believe that you'll see some names here like Apple and whatnot that will come through at the close for us. So let's wait to see what Apple does, but I like that name. Here comes AMC again. So let's get our order at 28.50. We'll get a piece out, and then if it flies after that, it flies. We're going to make money on this no matter what. So, well, not no matter what, but if we get out at 28.50, we should be good. So let's do that, and then we'll see where we go from there. But I'm going to stick an order on AMC 28.50-ish. To get some out, and Global Foundry is still trying to make that bottom.
So next level up there, message in the chat, they're saying, Neil, Sundial, I am loading up the boat on it.
That doesn't make sense.
Really? You're loading up the boat like short Sundial? Or loading up at 56 cents? I mean, good luck.
Is that it's, yeah, I mean, all cannabis names. You can look at CGC. Why do you always get comments on Sundial? It's because you're trading.
It's because like, whenever the stock has good volume, right? Like I liked it. For those of you that don't know, we did videos on our trading journeys like way back when. So if you don't know, when I started as a day trader, I kind of, again, I wanted the momentum trade. I traded some NASDAQ names. It was like my big four. The four that I started on was Oracle, AMAT, Microsoft, and Cisco, oddly enough. And those were the four stocks that I traded. And then, I actually made my first real money trading penny stocks. And it was just a style that I did pretty well on. So a lot of times when these do volume, I like to go back to them. That's why I always trade sundial when cannabis is moving, because it's just something which the price movement makes more sense to me, and some of these names and the way that they pop and the way that they fade and the dollar level, all of that. Now, what I would say to you is, okay, well, you got some like stink support at 50 cents. So I guess that's what you're loading up for. And I'm not gonna. I would never sit here as a person who owns shares of and is gonna probably add to Virgin Galactic this week or next week. I would never say to you that you can't have shot plays, right? You just understand the nature of what a shot play is. Like, you're not, when you do that, you're understanding that it is a high risk play that you think can be a high potential. And if you believe that in a cannabis stock that has some squeeze potential, fair enough. But like, you allocate a portion of your portfolio to that type of a play, understanding that's money that you should be willing to lose. Like, if you're not willing to lose in Virgin Galactic, or just lose the money you put into it, then I wouldn't necessarily tell you to buy that. You just don't buy it. Like, that's fine. Like, we're not talking about buying Apple. So good luck in sundial. A lot of times that can be a crazy stock to trade. I wouldn't be touching it, but that's just me.
We haven't done this much today, but we are going to be positive trading today, and we're going to fire off the hot dogs, because you know what, guys? Sometimes you got to believe in your trades, right? And I mean, there it is right there, AMC. We could have easily dumped this and got fed up with it, but there's our out at 48, and now you're starting to run higher. So I really feel like we'll do it right now. We'll go with a bang, because I'm just happy the way this went. Now, it's obviously not moving, up as much as I would like it to, but this is a good sign, man. We are at least moving to the upside right now this is, what am I saying? This is moving exactly how we wanted to, as AMC right now starting to get elevated here. And we talked about why we like this name, and it looks like it's going to pay off for us one more time here on AMC. Just continue to rip up to the upside. That was a BS wick down. I mean, it was right, but you could see the volume, and again, like, people want to know, how you and I, Neil, trade and different things that we look for and things like that. I've explained I love these little wick bottoms and wick tops and things like that. And so I think we'll just start to up our share size on some of these plays, because it seems to be working right now, finding bottoms. And I did want to give a big shout out. I think it was John Reinhardt there, and I think it was formerly known as Jude Fernando there, kind of talking a little bit about what I was saying here, and that is that why bother to sell that Roblox? So here it is right here. I found the talk. He's like, I hope you didn't sell, John. I just made $4 off that bottom and then tagged me. Well, I mean, that's exactly, guys, what I was talking about here with Roblox. And that is that, hey, why would you sell this right now? We're down pretty huge. Now you just bounce back up there. If you wanted to pair a little bit off here because you're nervous about tomorrow, now we're talking my language a little bit more now. I think you can probably pair a little bit here, because you're not trading it at its day's low. It's made a little bit back up here. If you are nervous about your Roblox position, John, I mean, you could take out, I don't know, third right now, to a quarter. I don't know what you want to do, but I think this is not a horrible spot. It's just going to suck when tomorrow you come in and this thing's back to 120 and change, and you'll feel that why did I sell it all? I've made mistakes too, man. Selling shares too early, selling them too late, and it's the worst feeling in the world. So I'm glad that it did bounce back for you, but it doesn't mean that the pain is over in any of these names. I still think there's at least another day, maybe a bit more, to go on some of these plays.
Yeah, by the way, just like I said, 350 is about 3.5 minutes away till we get those imbalances, which there could be some movement here, I would expect. We made a bit of a bottom. The NASDAQ has bounced back above that 16,000, but I'm covering the DD. I just want to be flat going into what I think could be an interesting set of prints. Well, I mean, not necessarily set of prints, but set of moves potentially on some individual names. I'm looking at Salesforce in particular, because they were the ones that reported today. If you look at the tech names that have been darlings in the past, like this is one that hasn't even caught a bid today. It's still flushing it's at the low of the day as we speak. It's 8 cents away from the low of the day, going right into the imbalances. And you have the 250 level, even 250 level, which also stands out as a 200 period moving average, well within sight. So if there's something that I think could make a bit of a move at 350, I just want to be watching the right name. And of course, you could be looking at maybe like a CrowdStrike, which reports tonight as well. Pick your own poison.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, I don't have the same feelings today about yesterday. It doesn't look like I mean, we'll see. But right here, as I look at the NASDAQ and we try to say, do we want to go short or long? We're not really at any levels here for me to make that play. Yesterday, when we were talking about going short on the NASDAQ into that close, we were near those highs and some of the stocks had started to come off. Right now, obviously, it doesn't look like that's going to be part of that trade. Here goes AMC, man. It looks like it's coming right back in. So you want to talk about, this is the one-day chart, sorry. You want to talk about us, again, maybe looking at gift horse. It went all the way to 29, and I hope we didn't get too greedy there, but now you're falling right back in. There's only 2 minutes now before the imbalances. Wow, Disney again getting clapped right now, guys. Down to 143 goes Disney. Mickey Mouse not having a Merry Christmas after all. I cannot believe the luck. And I've had bad luck because, like what did I do? Sell Disney and buy PayPal? Like what the hell is the difference at this point? But Disney just continues. I mean, I had a lot more money invested in Disney, but, big time movement to the downside. Wish we had sold the whole position, but we did not. Disney before earnings, we got out of some of that. And you could see this is puking down. This is another name that there's no way I'd be selling this at these levels. I mean, again, it should rebound. You got to like part of the businesses here. Here's Disney right at some consolidation levels. We've already seen this is where it was before the pandemic. So this is March. I purposely have the day chart down to these levels. So you could see this is basically where, this is exactly where Disney was. And remember, pre-pandemic is like pre-Disney Plus. It's pre all of that stuff. So basically, with this stock coming back into these levels, you're getting Disney Plus for free because it's right back to these levels, and they've built the station, they've built the content, it's there. If you build it, they will come. Unfortunately, the stock is coming in right to those prices again. So, hey, if you like it, this might be one of the better names to pick up on some dips if you want to stay away from technology.
Someone asked in the chat why AMC didn't halt to the downside. Quickly, I mean, halt bands have to do with not just price movement, like that, whether it's 5 or 10% or 10% on most issues, but it's also the time with which it happens, right? Like, yes, it's down over 10%, and yes, these are big candles, but bottom to top, this biggest move here is 28.8 down to 26.80, which is less than 10%. So the reason why you're not going to get a halt is because it just wouldn't have triggered, right? Like, yeah, if this had gone from 28.80 probably down to like 26 even, then you might have triggered a halt band to the downside. But again, the higher price, more liquid names tend not to halt because of that reason, because they're more liquid. It seems extreme, but like I said, it's a time function as well. It's within a 5-minute period that you have to hit that band. And it's constantly moving because of that, right? Like it's a stock price moves, that halt band is as well as going to move. So AMC is not a stock that halts very easily. Although I guess in the past we have seen it, but a day like today, no, it shouldn't have halted. Like this isn't one where, like if something should have halted and I expected it would, and it didn't, we would have said something.
Okay, so here's the imbalances right now. There's a talk there about Disney has a lot more to fall because Viacom has a 5 PE, Disney has a 30 PE. The companies, I mean, they're not even in the same realm. I mean, Viacom doesn't have the cruise lines, the hotel business, the theme parks, things like that. So, I mean, I don't know. There's Apple. So looks like they are going to try to sell this thing. This is the daily chart. Let's just see what's happening right now. As Apple looks like it's trying to get to the downside right now. There's Apple. So we'll just look at these. Trying to make moves. So it comes out. It's trying to make some moves to the downside. TAIBN, Cisco, Twitter right there on a buy. Again, it doesn't seem to matter what these imbalances are saying here today yet. And it may not matter as we go. So that's going to look like that's going to be a sad day for that name. As you go down, CCL looks like it's a buy as well. There's AMC. I just saw it on there. It was a buy. There it is. And you can see CCL just continue to go down even though a bid. And then there's AMC right now. The problem with these bids are, and Arun did a job yesterday of explaining this, or maybe it was, we always do it, but I can do it again. This is only 700,000 shares, right? It's done 60 million shares today. So although, yes, it does matter, the share sizes that are on here, it doesn't matter that much when they're this small. So we'll wait to see what happens now with AMC, but that's the imbalances right now. It just gave me an opportunity to get out. I think we should take that opportunity now in AMC and get this out for 30 cents and then just forget about it. But saved by the imbalances once again, it looks like right here.
Yeah, and speaking of insignificant imbalances, CRM, which I thought might be something, was 150,000, not a big number. It seemed to, look, it made it move $1, which in the context of today is absolutely nothing. CRM closed at 285, guys. Omar asking what do I mean by SSR in reference to AMC. Short sell restricted. So essentially, if a stock is down 10% or more, then that session or the next session is short sell restricted, which means you can only remove liquidity from the bid. So that means if you want to short it and you want to hit the bid instead of waiting on the offer, you need an uptick to do that, right? So you can only hit the bid if there is an uptick that allows it. So like it's essentially the uptick rule, but then if I say uptick rule, you guys like, what are you talking about? If you've been trading for 20 years, you know what I'm saying with the uptick rule. It used to be that all short selling of that fashion, you could not remove liquidity from the bid at all without an uptick. And that was across the entire market. They changed that rule, they got rid of it. And now if the stock is down 10% that day, and tomorrow AMC will be short sell restricted as well. So you can't hit that bid unless the last print on the tape was green.
That's the old method.
No, I mean like in this case, SSR.
Oh, when it goes SSR,
when it goes SSR.
because right now you're not going to be able to hit the bid no matter what, right? Even when the SSR right now, I think it just means you can take it off the offer, right? But anyways, we'll just wait for that as it comes through. That's what SSR is, guys. And I'm on Global Foundry right now as this has come back down. So we did do a decent job of getting out of AMC, I think. Anyways, at 30, it's up to 50 now. But again, like really happy. That's that 350 number. It came out as a bid. So we took that. You see the market didn't really do anything down there. So we'll take that bid and we'll run away from that. And then on Global Foundry, I'm waiting at 67. Maybe we get a bump up there. There's no imbalance on this name. So we're going to have to look at that. Wow, Beyond Meat, again, another name. Like there's so many names right now. I remember first buying Beyond Meat almost at this level or 70 or 60 or something. Like there's so many names that are like at like, I feel like, honestly, guys, like, for those of you that are out there, like I just think that this is being a little bit overblown, man. Like, why we're down to so many, like we're down to levels that we were hitting when we first discovered COVID. So I mean, I don't know what else to do.
DWAC halted.
DWAC,
what the heck?
Pipe deal for Trump's venture could be priced at a 20% discount. What? Brendan will look into this, but there is news on DWAC. So I don't know, Brendan, when you have something on that to digest what that means. I don't even know. Could pipe deal so could be priced at it. So it's going to the downside, right? Is that what DWAC just happened? Because it should be the way I'm reading.
And then
this.
Shot up. No, it did go down. It shot to 30. Shot to 37 and then halted up.
Could price at a 20% discount to 10-day volume-weighted average. So they're using VWAP, so there you go. Okay, so I don't know what this means, but it does look like it shot up there. I think that's gonna be incorrect, and it comes back down. 20% discount to a 10-day. So to me, that means lower, right? You're getting the pipe would be at a discount to the current price. So anyways, we'll leave that, but that is the news on DWAC. Brendan's maybe Brendan can see something. What's up?
I was just going to mention, guys, it looks like they're trying to, like, this is obviously additional to what has already happened. So they're looking at $875 million in addition to the $3 billion that was initially raised. So yeah, it's a discounted pipe investment, it would appear.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, look.
I'll have to, like, honestly, my brain is like.
And this late in the session
right now, so
if you're stuck in this, this won't open up until after 4. Like, sorry, not after. At 4 o'clock. Yeah. At 4 o'clock, there'll be essentially like a closing.
One last print.
Like the opening print will be the closing
but
print.
I don't know if that's true for NASDAQ.
And then I think it's true for NASDAQ and New York. Okay. And then it'll trade in the aftermarket to the extent that there's liquidity, which in this particular case there obviously will be because it's DWAC and the market's going absolutely nuts. Speaking of the market. Yeah, probably not going to have any other trades on, but the NASDAQ just reclaimed the low of the day. The ES also, I mean, it didn't need to. It was already at that low. But you're going all the way back to, hey, watch this, that pullback on the 10th. This is 15.9. That was that low. And we're going to get there again. So 1.4% to the downside. It's deceiving because, remember, we were trading up. We were trading up this morning, and then it turned red. So, you know, that's a different way of heading to the downside. I mean, I look at Tesla back below 1,100, right? CRM managed to bounce off at 252, but who cares? I mean, the market just flushing going into the close.
Yeah, and I mean, just like hold all, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. We just talked about Roblox getting out there at, what was it, 114? I mean, I'm even scared to look what it is now. Okay, it's not too bad. 113. I mean, the NASDAQ right now is puke city, man. We're near the low of the day. We are at the low of the day, down now 1.45%. So You know what? I mean, I can't blame anybody that's in there now to buy a little bit. If you did have some spare cash, I would just look at the best companies, man. Like, what is Microsoft down right now?
Not much.
Right. So, I mean, these are the names I would buy. Like, if you're not going to be down that much today, a softie, you're going to get an opportunity.
They're not down.
They're not even down at all. So there you go. So my initial thought is to go over to the high quality names, and you're definitely seeing that. I think that was the thought of everybody here today, as Apple, Microsoft.
Barely red, barely.
Oh, so Microsoft's leading Apple today. Okay.
I mean, it's close enough that it's
doesn't matter.
Distinction without a difference, I would say, because they're both less than 0.1%.
But I think the idea is to go over to some higher quality names, even like a Tesla. I mean, Tesla's always going to have different news surrounding it. We already know that story. But again, even down 4% on Tesla, like that's kind of a normal day for them, right? So you can see Tesla not even breaking back below 1,100 just now. So I think this is going to be a good play for everybody. And that's that, man. I mean, what a great show I feel like this has been, with a lot of news, a lot of opinions, a lot of great names there. Upstart, Walmart, Disney, Nvidia cracking lower, man. I like Netflix at 620. I think that could be bought as well. But Disney just lower now, 142. Jeez.
Yeah, and this is, again, like a balanced portfolio makes a lot of sense. Someone's saying this is why dividend stocks are good. Like, it's why a lot of people put them in there. I should have said this right away when DWAC was halted. As a reminder, warrants don't halt. When you're stuck in one of these, I mean, if you needed to and you wanted to put a hedge trade on, I mean, DWAC W, the warrants are still trading actively.
So are they going up?
And they're going up. I don't know why I didn't check it right away, but yeah.
What's up, Brendo?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how that resumes, maybe even tomorrow. Here we go. Real quick, guys, a minute ago here. Here's what's to come tonight and tomorrow morning for earnings.
We talked about
that's probably why I couldn't see CrowdStrike. Like, it seems like it's just a little bit off in the corner.
Snowflake.
It's kind of like have one of those.
Oh my goodness.
Snowflake? I feel like, how did we miss what? These are not the same. I'm going to have to look back.
It is
the same thing. I know it's the same. I'm just kind of joking, but like, I like Snowflake. I cannot believe that that's there as well. I remember it because we talked only really about TD, right? So PVH, again.
That's my fault.
Yeah, retail is going to be in there, but Snowflake, I mean, another name that's, looking at Neil's screen has that up. I mean, Palantir, be damned. Snowflake as well.
Off 25%
on the downside. We only have, 15.
Oh, 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, don't worry about this. This is AMD. AMD just now cracked below 150, so 149 for AMD with only 15 seconds to go. Looks like it's going to be Miss V in her all black today, which seems to be right. Black Wednesday, we can call today, as it's getting ready to go with only 7 seconds left.
6, 5. It's working. 4, 3, 2. Ring it, Miss V.
All right, yeah. Neil just said put an end to this day. I think that's about right, man. We couldn't stop this aggressive market to the downside here. What a crazy day. And
market on low, VIX on high.
Don't even look at your portfolios tonight, guys. Just honestly go to sleep, have some eggnog, something like that. Make sure there's some rum in there, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Brendan, how did we wind up?
What a reversal. It was a very positive day to start. If you joined us way back at 8:30 when we came on this morning, but definitely a different story now. Here we go. Red, top to bottom, red. 1.28 there for the S&P, the Dow 0.8, but 1.8 for the NASDAQ. So here we go again, possibly back towards the lows, guys.
Yeah. You know what, but you look at that board, man, and I mean, it's not that bad. Like crude barely down, like Bitcoin, Ethereum holding up, Brazil saying what's up as well. I mean, NASDAQ only down 1.5, the S&P 1.1. I mean, there's been way worse days than this. I just feel like we're panicking. Because,
it's the growth names. That,
a lot of the names that we're doing.
And that's the other thing too is like it's way easier to hold on to those growth names when you also have a bunch of quality that you're holding on to.
Why is that so blinding?
You're all in high growth names. It's very difficult not to be in panic mode, right? So anyways.
DWAC opened up, by the way, 47.50.
Yeah, so it's still going. Okay.
Yeah, so DWAC halts there at 39. We're going to find out more about this tomorrow. But there it goes right now, 47.48. It touched 49 there on the reopen. But, it looks like it actually opened up here, I guess, 44, and then ripped to 49. So, wow. People getting excited. Former President Trump's SPAC here, I guess. I'm just going to keep going back and forth because.
No, I think
I think whatever you say, I think is going to be right. But I want to give a big thank you, obviously, to the Memes and Movers crew for holding it down. Welcome back, Ms. V. Thank you to Trader Pratt and Ms. V. There he is. Always so serious.
Done the chicken.
He's like, damn, that chicken gave me a tummy ache, bro. Thank you so much, Ms. V, again. Always great to have her back. And then The Shining is in the building. And I also have to, so a big thanks to Rob and to Lucas. But before we throw that picture on, so one person is in a Shining hoodie that you have bigged up, and so have I. But you beat it. The other guy is in I've never seen this before. I like the creativity. It's a plaid shirt. Before I'm just going to explain it. I want to explain it first, Lucas. Are there lights on that we can get a little better look there? Because it's a plaid shirt, but it's multiple designs. Like half is green, the back is white, the front. Let's go now. Let's go. Thank you to Rob. Thank you. There it is.
When you need more plaid.
There it is, right there. So, well, I'm not. What are those poses, first of all? Okay, we love you guys. We love having fun with them. And Neil, it's great to have you back. It's been a week since we sat beside each other. I think it was a successful day as well.
Yeah, certainly. I'm gonna have some eggnog myself because we just got some and we're finishing the decorations on our tree tonight. And you have to have eggnog to do it with some
and the wife,
adult beverage inside.
Yeah, the wife and I are heading out to some Christmas festive event here in Toronto. Actually, really close to Brendan's pad. We'll be there. So, anyways, good day, guys. Thank you so much for everybody. Thank you to Brendan. I mean, again, another big news day here, and we'll just look to the trade of the day. Is going to be CRM. It's going to be with Neil, and it's going to be right now after we disconnect from you guys. So, happy Wednesday. Don't look at your portfolio, and we will see you at 8:30. Ciao, guys. Join Discord.
Wow, D-Wack.